Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another 3 Point Weekly stream. We're finishing off our top 10 list today. Power forwards is the last position to go through, so we will get to that. But before we do get to that, we're going to talk about the Boston Celtics heading into this season. And we're also going to talk about the Chicago Bulls heading into this season as we are joined by Chicago Bulls fan Maurice, the sports historian. His link on YouTube is down in the description below, so be sure to check him out. But Mo, how we doing today?
We good, man. Good. Had to get me on. We talking about the Bulls. Y'all see the Chicago flag in the back. It's always in the back, and it's gonna stay in the back. Feeling good. Happy to be on 3 Point Weekly, man. For sure.
My guy, we're
Definitely
glad to
great to
have you,
have you
man.
on.
For sure.
Definitely. Appreciate you coming on. And like we said, we have to talk about the Chicago Bulls. But as we continue to chat throughout the stream, whether it be the Bulls or otherwise, be sure to leave your thoughts in the chat below. Love to hear your guys' feedback throughout. We've been appreciating all the feedback in chat over the last few weeks. And if you do end up enjoying, be sure you hit that like button. Be sure you do subscribe to the channel for these streams every week. But without further ado, let's get to your Chicago Bulls, Mo. An interesting year last year, and a year where, of course, Lonzo Ball was not able to come back on the floor. You ended up humiliating me and Gabe Toronto Raptors in the play-in, but obviously not quite where you
Bro,
were
why
just
does
a
it
year
start
ago.
that quick?
Hey, to be
It's
honest,
always
if
the
he didn't
Raptors.
mention it, I wasn't even gonna mention it. To be honest.
Like, I know I'm fucking up the intro right now, but it's wrong.
This is part of the narrative, man. It feels very close to home with two Raptors fans and a Bulls fan on the pod. What can I say? But nonetheless, going into next year, Mo, what do you see from your Chicago Bulls? Is it more of what we saw last year, or is it a little bit closer to what we saw 2 years ago?
Um. So going into last season, obviously I was optimistic because we had just come off of that playoff loss against the Milwaukee Bucks. I didn't take that too harshly, especially because we had taken a game off of them. But then when we went into last season and we just completely shit the bed for a good 2 months into the season, I was ready to blow it all up. I was ready to call it quits because I was just tired of losing, and I was even more tired of mediocrity, and that's what we ended up getting at the towards the end of the season. Instead of being a bad team, but I'd almost rather be a bad team to be mediocre. Uh, what some things I did notice at the very tail end of the season, we started to pick up our play. I felt like we played a lot better than we did in the beginning of the season. That's also we started to stack wins, and eventually how we ended up landing that play-in spot. I believe maybe the Pacers had taken a nosedive and ended up dropping out of the play-in completely. So credit to them for sucking worse than us. But going into this season, if I'm being optimistic, I'm going to say it's going to be a better season than last season. Now, granted, better than bad is a whole range of things. Could be good, could be mediocre, could be slightly above average. But I'm hoping that we could at least make the playoffs. Again, that's kind of asking for the bare minimum, but I'll take what I can get at this point. I want us to make the playoffs. I want us to be competitive. I want us to be somewhat decent, somewhat watchable. Um, do I think that's going to happen? I'm going to be optimistic and say yeah, but obviously I can see it going the opposite way and us completely falling out the playoffs. And in which point we'll know that this experiment, if we couldn't see, from the previous iterations of it, it's this experiment is just not going to work. So hoping we don't see more of the same from last season. And I hope we get something new.
You tap in, Gabe.
Listen, I don't know if we're going to see a whole lot of something new, but what I do know is a year from now, I like where they're at. And here's why. What they did this offseason, I think, was smart. Are they going to get that much better immediately? No. Will they still be kind of competitive? Yeah. But here's the thing. After next season, DeMar DeRozan, off the books. He's off the books. The extension they gave Nikola Vucevic, 20 mil. We just talk about these new contracts all the time of people making so much money. 20 mil, really not that much in the grand scheme. A very movable contract, something you can flip for a lot of different guys. And these pieces that kind of lock them into this older future, this we're going to try to compete as much as possible, but not being good enough to actually do so, that kind of roster structure overall, they can get out of that. And so they can take this season and say, hey, things are going really well. We might rock with it. But they also put themselves in a position where, hey, we kind of screwed up. We kind of put ourselves into this position where we're just going to be a little bit mediocre for the next couple of years. But now after next year, they can really get out of that, and not locking themselves into that long-term direction was honestly good for them. Because now, if they get halfway through next year and they're just really bad, maybe they trade one of these guys that are expiring. Maybe they start to blow it up a little bit early. They can go out, maybe acquire some picks, try to salvage kind of those picks that they lost with the whole Magic deal, and start to get this thing back on track. Now, do I think that even competing next season is the best idea? I don't know. Will it put butts in seats? Maybe. Will it make Bulls fans want to rip their hair out a little bit less? Maybe. But at the end of the day, I think it's far from the worst place they could be.
Gabe, but before we get anything else, I'm gonna tell you right now, it's not gonna put butts in seats, because butts were gonna be in seats anyways. We are unfortunately too loyal of a fan base to know that our team sucks so much that we probably shouldn't be buying tickets. And I'm guilty of this, because even if they suck next year, I'm gonna try to go to a game, because hey, that's just how it is.
The UC is always packed. Like it's been that way even back when Jim Boylan was the head coach. Like the UC was still packed every night. So, I mean, the Bulls could definitely be.
I'm proud of.
Facts, but the Bulls could definitely be worse off. I would say, like, we've seen teams like over the past like 5 years or so be like super stuck in directions and not want to choose out of it. I don't think it's that bad, because, like Gabe said, there are some contracts that are expiring, next off season. So they're not really like committed to just this core, even though it kind of seems like that's what they try to do, like extend the Vucevic and stuff. But I don't think it's all that bad, man. And, I like how you brought up, Mo, like the back half of last season after the trade deadline, really when Patrick Beverley got to the team, like it just seemed like there was a different type of intensity on both ends of the floor. The Bulls definitely played a lot better. Zach LaVine got better as the year went on. Like it wasn't as kind of they were struggling that early on in the season, but it really picked up back half, almost got into the playoffs. They were up like double digits against Miami in that second half. So they were right there on the doorstep, right? But the only tough thing is the Eastern Conference just continues to get better. And I don't know if the Bulls really got that much better in the offseason. I like the Javon Carter move. Like giving up Patrick Beverley, bringing him in, I think is a pretty good like swap, pretty much. So I do like that move. But I mean, other than that, it's really about its health with this team. And obviously, Zoe's not going to be there this season, so guys are going to have to step up. You want to get another really good year out of LaVine. I still expect DeMar to be how he's been. The year he had when he first got to Chicago was amazing. But if he's like somewhere in between that and where he was last year, I think that's fine for DeMar DeRozan at this point in his career. You would like to see Vucevic step it up a little bit, especially getting that extension. Just all the assets you gave up for him, you like to see him just step up a little bit more than what he has been like the last year and a half or so. But it's tough to say like if the Bulls will like really be competing for the playoffs, because like you said, it can be better next season, but better could also just be them being a back half playing team like they were this past season, just because of how good the Eastern Conference is. So, like the Pacers are going to be better. There's other teams that have improved, like the Magic. We expect them to maybe make a little bit of a jump. Like that bottom half of the East got a lot better. How will the Bulls fare? It's really to be seen. It's going to rely on the guys that they're paying all that money, LaVine, DeRozan, Vucevic. And we'll see how Billy Donovan can handle things. I know Bulls fans are probably out on him, at this point. But, we'll just have to see how just things shape out for them. I mean, it's just been tough. Like the Zoe injury is just something that we're going to really look back on and be like, damn, like what if he could have just been healthy? The knee wasn't that bad, because, it wasn't that long ago when the Bulls were like one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference for like the first 45, 50 games of the season.
Memories, man.
The greatest half-season stretch in Bulls history.
I went to a game that season too. We was litty, man.
Those are fun times. Zoe was looking really good in a Chicago jersey. And one day, hopefully, we see him back. I hope for all of our
For
sake,
sure,
Bulls
man.
and NBA fans alike. But shout out Jay for tuning in here. This is them getting bounced in the play-in, I assume, Jay, not making the play-in, just to clarify. But yeah, I like it. I like a lot
You're
of
a
the
Knicks
points you
fan,
guys have
bro.
been bringing up.
Hey, to be fair, the Knicks are probably the better team. I mean, they were last year.
Yeah, but like he's a Knicks fan, so like who cares?
I will. I do have one question for you because we know the Bulls next season they're going to be what they are, probably pretty similar to what they were last year. But going forward, how satisfied are you with Zach LaVine being the guy going forward? Because assuming he picks up that player option, he probably will. It's like $50 million. He's going to be on the roster through 2027. Are you happy with that?
Man, I've wanted him to continue to be the guy, and unfortunately, with us getting DeMar DeRozan, it seemed like he's taking a step back on the team in general. I don't know why. That was a very interesting choice, especially seeing as Zach was, in my opinion, when DeMar was on the Spurs, Zach was the better player. Obviously, we saw what happened that season, and I wouldn't really argue that Zach was better than him that season. But coming into last season, even after the season that DeRozan had, I still wanted Zach LaVine to, be the one that is taking shots at the end of the game. I wanted him to be the number one, not the number 1B or the number 2 in the offense. So, am I content with that? Honestly, yeah, I am. It's all about, I think, continuing to put trust in Zach LaVine because again, I got I got his jersey in my closet. I don't got a lot of people jerseys in my closet, like for real. So I got faith in Zach LaVine, and I want Zach LaVine to be, the franchise player for us, as he's basically filled that role ever since post Jimmy Butler, post D Rose. So yeah, through 2027, fuck it, let's do it, bro. I'm all in on Zach LaVine, bro. I'm not switching up on my guy.
So, what would you say is the best way to build around him then? Because you look at him and he is 28 now, and you're thinking, okay, with this core of him, DeMar, Vucevic is probably not working out, probably not going to get you guys to being an actual contender. So, how do you think you continue from there and build successfully around a guy who's already 28? Because if you're thinking draft, he's probably going to be like, what, 32 by the time drafted guys are ready to really contend. So, what do you think is the best plan there?
So with that, for the future, DeRozan and Vucevic, neither of them can be on this team. If we want to keep Zach LaVine and he's the guy, neither of them can be on this team. There's no shade to either one of them, especially not DeMar, considering what he's done for us in the short time that he's been here. But the experiments just don't work. The ball is there's only so much. There's only one ball. There's only so many touches people can get. I don't like the split of touches that I've been seeing. I feel like DeMar's been getting the ball way too much. There's been points where Zach LaVine just feels like he's just not within the offensive of system. I've seen multiple possessions go by without him getting the ball. He parking his ass in the corner, no movement from Zach LaVine, who's a fantastic off-ball player. There's no plays being ran for him. It's just it's a lot of stuff that I just don't like, and part of that is on Billy Donovan. A big part of that is on Billy Donovan. I do not like Billy Donovan. That secret extension that the Bulls handed out, excuse me, that secret extension that Jerry Reinsdorf's greedy ass handed out, nah, bro, that shit was not it. And honestly, once that news broke, I already knew it was over with for that next season because I don't understand how you look at Billy Donovan as a coach, see him coach your team, and be like, yeah, that's the guy I want coaching my team after all the bullshit that he's put this Bulls roster through. Whether that be Zach LaVine not getting the ball when he's clearly the best offensive player on the team, whether that be icing Zach LaVine's minutes when he's hot, whether that be Patrick Williams not starting and starting Patrick Beverly over him, or even before that, starting Alex Caruso over him, which credit to Alex Caruso. He's a fantastic defender, but he's not a power forward. What are we doing, bro? I went on a Billy Donovan tangent. That's crazy.
That's
I
exactly
hate
what
that
we're
man,
looking
bro.
for,
I do not like that man.
Listen, we're
But
good for
back to the question: how do you build around? Yeah, DeMar, Vucevic, they can't be on the team. I like what we have in Patrick Williams. I also like what we have in Kobe White. Very happy we extended him. We need somebody who honestly, if we pair somebody up with Zach LaVine, because if we want to make it to contention, we're gonna have to pair somebody up. It's gonna be somebody who can have the ball in their hands. And Zach LaVine, his best role is played when he's playing off the ball, when players are drawn up for him and stuff like that. So we get somebody who can score with the ball in their hands. We get a decent shot blocking, rim protecting center, and not a scoring center like Vucevic. Upgrade our point guard play slightly, whether that be if Lonzo coming back or actually getting a better point guard through free agency, stuff like that. And then I say you got yourself a good foundation around somebody like Zach LaVine.
Very valid. It's definitely a good argument. I think, like you say, Zach's definitely not been put in the best positions to succeed over the last year or two. So that's definitely a good way to go about it. Another question I want to ask you is a little bit more niche to the Bulls and maybe more diehard Bulls fans or Bulls fans in specific, but are you surprised that Javonte Green hasn't been re-signed, and then in turn with that hasn't been signed at all yet by anyone this year?
I really, really wanted us to re-sign Javonte Green. I feel like he was one of those impact play during the time where the Bulls were their best over this stretch that we've had. DeMar DeRozan, he was a very, very high impact player for the amount of minutes that he was receiving. On Bulls broadcast, one of the things that Stacey King was saying, it felt like it's 5 Javonte Greens out there, and that was dead ass how it felt. You know what I'm saying? We were saying it on Bulls Twitter. Obviously, you guys would know about that because you're not Bulls fans, but that was a common thing. We saw the value in Javonte Green. How nobody else has saw the value in Javonte Green, hey, maybe they just wrote him off because he was a part of a Bulls team that sucked. But he was a contributing piece to that team. We did suck, but he was one of the bright spots on that team, and it was unfortunate that he didn't get to play a lot last season due to injury. That may be why we didn't extend him, and that may also be why other teams haven't reached out and extended him an offer yet. But Javonte Green is a very good NBA player, and he should be on the NBA roster for sure.
Yeah, I liked him in Boston. Like, he didn't even get like a ton of minutes, but he was still, every time he touched the floor, he's productive, and he was great for the Bulls, up until like he was getting injured and stuff. But the fact that he's not signed is kind of crazy because there's a lot of teams that could use some wing depth. And
sure.
he's not like a world class wing or anything, but he's somebody that can give you like 10, 15 good minutes, very solid minutes. So I don't understand why he's not signed either.
Even with the minutes that he was playing, he was largely playing out of position. He's only 6'4", so and we was using him at that wing position. He was playing it well, but I don't know any team that might need another size wing. I guess you know what I'm saying. He was a hell of a rebounder as well. If you wanted to pick him up and have him, be more of a guard defender, perimeter defender, you could do that as well. He's like a 6'4" lob threat, which is always nice to have. Backdoor cuts, he like to do stuff like that, like to grab rebounds that he probably shouldn't, but he do it anyway just because hustle stuff, just the little things. He's one of the dudes that you would really appreciate having on your team, and you probably wouldn't notice unless he was on your team. So yeah, for sure, Javonte Green, he got my stamp.
All right, so I gotta ask, this is probably gonna be the last year of this Bulls core trying to contend together. I think the way the contracts are set up is really pointing towards that.
Contend.
If be a competitive team, I guess is a better way to phrase it. But if everything goes right, if all these players play to fruition, they're all healthy, everything goes pretty much as well as it could, what is the ceiling of this Bulls team, do you think? Because personally, I probably have that as like a 6-7 seed.
So you said ceiling, and I'm going to assume best case scenario, Billy Donovan pulls his head out of his ass and makes Zach LaVine the primary scoring option in the offense. DeMar takes a little bit less of, not a little bit, a lesser role in the offense, sacrificing, just for the betterment of the team. Javon Carter comes in, has an impact, doesn't forget how to shoot because he put on a Bulls uniform. Patrick Williams continues shooting 40% from three, playing good-ass defense. Kobe White improves his scoring, improves his efficiency, improves a little bit as a defender. Andre Drummond has a big season for us off the bench. If all of that goes well and Billy Donovan coaches up a storm and he's like actually a decent head coach next season, Our ceiling is probably like a 5 seed. I'm gonna be honest. I don't see us contending with the big dogs in the East, which is very, very funny because if you guys remember during that season when we were a 1 seed for a good portion of the season, we didn't beat any of the best teams in the league, much less the East. And then last season we was like, I think we 2-1 the Celtics. I think we beat the Bucks. I know we beat the Sixers. We got blew out the next night, but I know we beat the Sixers. And Joel Embiid had like a crazy win streak against the Bulls. We snapped that. It was a very weird season. Last season we couldn't beat the bums. We was getting like gamed by the Magic and shit like that. Just oddities. But yeah, 5 seed, and that's being super, super optimistic.
Hey, respect Devin's favorite team, bro.
Favorite team is crazy, but they were 500 once Markel was back. So
It was,
that.
but like he didn't game us. I think it was like Jalen Suggs that had did it or some. I don't even remember.
I forgot about that shot. Yep.
I looked bro. The game was over. I looked away. I turned back. The Magic celebrating. I'm like, what the fuck just happened?
That's
Jalen Suggs masterclass.
It's always annoying when you just can't beat like the teams that you should beat. Like every night,
bro. Even during that season when we was good, we was like losing to the Knicks, and then we had lost an embarrassing game to the Rockets where I think we just blew a lead. I was on a train and I watched that happen. I was like, what are we doing, bro?
Weren't the Rockets on like a crazy losing streak too, and then they just beat the Bulls?
And they snapped that losing streak versus us.
Was that when they lost like 20 in a row or something crazy?
Yeah, something ridiculous. Yeah. And we was, I think we was up at halftime, and they just chipped away at our lead, and we just lost because we was fucking around.
Were they against the Bulls when the Celtics had like that big comeback that turned around their season?
I don't remember that. I don't know.
Sure.
I don't think
feel
that
like
was
the Celtics.
actually.
I feel like the Celtics had a big comeback that like was the start of that season turnaround. Like it was like one game.
It might have been, but I don't know if it was.
I honestly don't remember. I'm being honest.
Regardless, I feel like that whole playing down to competition thing is just universally like the most annoying thing in sports. No matter who you're a fan of, in anything, when you play some bum team and it's like this team is like in the mud, they're about to be playing the tank bowl for the #1 draft pick, and then all of a sudden they want to come out against us. This guy's hitting threes. He's a 32% 3-point shooter, but he wants to shoot 4 for 4 tonight. And like
Corey Joseph scores 22 points or some crazy shit like that.
Just strange ways to lose basketball games. Like, why are you losing like this, bro?
It's so annoying.
Literally. Although all I'm gonna say, as a Raptors fan, Dwayne Casey ain't on the bench anymore, and that makes me very happy playing the Pistons. And ain't prepping for a Super Bowl every year anymore.
Hey. I think we swept the Pistons last year, which like the year before, I think they either split with us or 3-1 us or something like that. Like,
yeah, I think they split with you last year, and we swept them this past year too. So it was a rarity, which I guess is why Casey decided to hang it up. He couldn't beat the Raptors and the Celtics anymore.
Crazy. Hey, when you know you got to retire, you know, and he knew.
You know. See if Monty has the same luck, man.
We'll see, man. We'll see. But I think unless you guys have anything else, we will move off of said Chicago Bulls, and we will move to another team. That is so valid because that's where I'm at with the Raptors these days too. But we will move to a team that we have another fan of on the pod here in Tyrik, who's seen his Boston Celtics just continue to be very competitive in the Eastern Conference over the last few years. Just haven't quite been able to get over that last step. But Jaylen Brown is back on his extension. Kristaps Porzingis has been added with Marcus Smart being traded over the course of the offseason. So a lot of change, a lot of money being thrown around in Boston this summer. Grant Williams being the other most notable departure as he is headed to Dallas. Well, we'll get your thoughts first, Reek. What do you see going into this season from your Boston Celtics?
Yeah, we definitely touched on the Celtics a pretty decent amount, like over the summer and everything. But I'm still at the same point, man. Like I love the KP trade. This gives Boston a third option that they haven't really had, maybe since like Kemba, but that was kind of before JT ascended and everything. So now they got a true third guy who is the third guy. There's no like Gordon Hayward lurking in the background or anything. You got your third guy. You got the pecking order that should be set. Giving up like Smart definitely stung, but it's like you kind of got to make those moves, man, to get better. And that's one thing I love about Brad Stevens. Since he stepped in from day one, he's coached many of these guys that have been on this team, but he's making the right moves that he has to make in order to elevate this team to being a championship team and truly just being able to win it all. So, losing Smart sucked. He's been there for about a decade, but it was the move that had to be made. I think Derek White does a lot of the things that Marcus Smart can do at this point. And I think Derek White was better than Marcus Smart last season. So I'm fine with him being that defensive, gritty guard going forward. I even like moves like getting Speed Mikhailuk. I like that. Like he's somebody that played really well in Charlotte last year. Shot, I think, 40% from three. Showed a little bit of like creation off the dribble and stuff, which I think is good because it's not something that the Celtics have had off of their bench. It's somebody that can shoot the ball and maybe create a little bit. I think he just provides a different look than like a Sam Hauser or somebody like that. The only concern I really have is just like one is his health. Like Brogdon down the stretch was hurt, which he's a key piece of the team, especially with Marcus Smart being gone. He has to be how good he was last year, but he has to elevate that in the playoffs. And obviously the injury to his forearm really mitigated what he can do. And then KP, KP was great last season, but he's just somebody that in his career has had injury risk, just being the big 7'3" guy that he is. He's definitely been banged up. Just hopefully he can stay healthy. Hopefully his foot, because he already has plantar fasciitis over the summer. Hopefully that heals and everything. But, this team should be knocking on the door once again. They were a game away from the finals. Despite all that happened in the playoffs, being down 0-3 against Miami, they were still a game away from the finals. And Tatum rolled his ankle. Who knows what happens if that didn't occur? So I'm expecting this team to be right there knocking on the door once again.
Yeah, this could easily be like the top team. This could easily be the best version of the Celtics core around the Jays because since these two have been together, we've seen them with like Kyrie and Hayward, but they were young. And then you had them with Kemba and Smart, made a little bit more of a leap. And now we're in this new era with Porzingis. And the way it fits, I was a little skeptical at first because I was like, I don't know if the playmaking is all going to be there. But I've seen a lot of people are very confident in Derek White taking a step and really becoming that true lead guard for them going forward. And if he steps up and he's able to do that effectively, I think this team could be really good because you're talking about a starting lineup. Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Kristaps Porzingis, and Time Lord. Dog. That might be a big lineup, but that's a scary lineup, especially on the defensive side of the ball. This team could be a defensive juggernaut this season. And that mixed with enough tough shot makers, mixed with enough guys that'll just play within the flow of the offense, mixed with some solid depth off the bench, I feel like this team is at the point where they really have it all. I don't really see a lot of weaknesses here, especially if they get a second-year leap out of Joe Mazzulla, because especially in the playoffs, there was some questions about his rotations, his schemes, different things he was doing. But it was his first year coaching, and he was kind of thrown into that role out of the blue. So him with a full year with this roster, a full year to be in that system, really grow that relationship with the players, with the organization, really ingraining himself into that culture, it could take them to the next level. There's so much talent here, and they've had talent for years. It's just been about getting over that hump. And I think now they have everything they need to do that.
Hey, man. I am a known Celtic supporter. I'm a known Jason Tatum supporter as well. I predicted him to win MVP 2 years straight. And last year, I swear, I thought he was going to do it. And then, he started shooting birthdays and, tour dates and shit like that. And it ruined his MVP chances. I was still bullish on them going into the playoffs. They scared me going, they scared me all three series, which is weird. That Celtic series, I felt they went a little longer than it should have, which it did. But, they came out of that one. The Sixers series, they had to really grind after putting themselves in that hole, and they did. And unfortunately, 3 strikes are out. They couldn't do it with the Miami Heat. I'm very, very, very much so looking forward to the Celtics team. Where do I listen? I think that this is I think that this is the year. Okay, I think that this is the year that the stars align, the pieces, all of the puzzle pieces are put together in just the right way that we see the Celtics team break through and we see them win their first championship together. First championship Celtics. That's kind of funny. But yeah, I think it's gonna happen. Listen, this it's Tatum's world, bro. It's Tatum's world. I think that he's ascended to top 5 in the world status. Unfortunately, last playoffs he didn't play like it, but that's the ups and downs of you got to bounce back from stuff like that. If Tatum really is this top 5 player in the world that I think he is, and that I think he will continue to be, I think that nothing less than like a 1 seed, and going into the playoffs and making your presence known and actually being a threat and not taking these games lightly and not bullshitting and having to turn it into gear, you know what I'm saying, once your back's against the ropes. I think that they go through the regular season confidently, that confidence transfers into the postseason, and with that postseason confidence and everything clicking, I think that they're going to be the best team in the East, and I think that they're going to be in the NBA Finals.
I would not be shocked at all to see that. The biggest thing for them is just going to be health. Like you touched on it, Reek, between Time Lord, between Kristaps, between Malcolm Brogdon, you got 3 of your core 7 rotational guys that are known injury concerns. If they're healthy, the talent is there, the defense is there, the star talent is there, the bench talent is there, Brogdon, whoever they do or don't start between Time Lord and Al Horford when it comes down to it in the postseason. There's a plethora of what you need to win. It's just, can they stay healthy? Even when you look at the fact that, they lost to Grant Williams, they lost to Marcus Smart, did they have the depth? You still have 2 really good pieces off of your bench, and as an 8th, 9th rotation guy, like Peyton Pritchard will come back to light a little bit more now this season, I would presume. He's fine in that type of role. The O'Shea Brissett addition was nice as well. I think he can provide you some minutes on the wing throughout the course of the season. We saw Sam Hauser do his thing throughout the course of last season as well. Again, not great guys that you want to rely on heavily in the postseason, but they shouldn't have to, assuming they're healthy, which just brings it all back to health. The talent's there. Joe Mazzulla being better in year 2 would be nice, but it really is just going to come down to health with Boston. The talent is so clearly there, and I'm right there with you, Mo. I think if all goes well, this should be a 1 seed and a team that has a very, very good chance to make the finals next year.
I want to bring
it
back.
Rick, let me ask you a question, Reek.
Go ahead.
I know that trading Marcus Smart was probably not something that you expected, or maybe not even something that you wanted. But overall, do you think it was a net positive, even though you're losing a lot of the team identity with Marcus Smart? Because we could all tell who was the team identity, just like Draymond is with the Warriors. You know what I'm saying? He might not be the best player, but he's the heart and soul of that team. So how do you think losing Marcus Smart and regaining that identity, how you think that's going to go for the Celtics? Because that's a big thing that none of us touched on, is they got to find their identity again.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be as detrimental as people might think, just because Tatum, Brown, even Al Horford have been with Smart pretty much the majority of his career, since he's ascended to that leadership role. So I feel it might already be kind of built in. And even Joe Mazzulla's been there, this will be his 3rd year on staff and everything. So I feel it's kind of built in. It might take a little bit of time, early on in the season, you might see it a little bit, but I feel by the time they get to February, March, I feel they'll be fine in that aspect. Definitely it's hard to measure though, because that's something that you can't just really contribute to wins and losses. It's really just something that you just kind of know. Is the identity different? Are they as scrappy defensively? Is there a little bit of rift, arguments on the bench and stuff like that? Because that's stuff that Marcus Smart would really take care of. He would be the one that would talk to the media, kind of call guys out and stuff. So somebody's going to have to step up. Is that going to be Tatum? I would hope so. He is the best guy. Is Al Horford he's still the vet? Is he going to take on more of a vocal role? Who knows? We're really going to have to see. But I feel the identity is kind of already built in. And so I feel losing Smart won't be too much of a detriment to that department, if that makes sense.
I feel when you look at this team and those questions of their identity or their health, I feel the questions around them are so minor compared to the rest of the teams in the East. And that's why I have a bit more confidence in Boston. If I look the other top players in the Eastern Conference, Milwaukee's getting old. Drew Holiday showed clear regression. We don't know what Chris Middleton's going to be going forward. Brook Lopez was easily their 2nd most impactful player last year, and he's also getting up there in age. So we don't know what's going to happen there. Giannis might have a heavy load to carry. Philadelphia, there's always Embiid's health. He always gets in the playoffs. He gets banged up. And then there's the big James Harden factor of we don't know what that's going to look like come playoff time. Cleveland, we don't know if any of their guys can really show up big time in the playoffs yet, except Donovan Mitchell's done it before, but especially those other guys, we really have no idea what they're going to be like. And beyond that, I don't think anybody else is really what people are considering to even be like a dark horse contender in this conference. I guess you can talk about Miami if you want, but they always have these come from behind runs. And even unless they get Damian Lillard, that changes the game. But I'm going to go off what I see right now. They lost a couple guys in the offseason. And I know counting the Heat out every season is like a trend, but I don't see them beating the Celtics team. That question mark is, can they really do this shit again? They've done it like 2 or 3 times now. So with that, talking about the Celtics, can they find that defensive identity, that scrappiness? Over 82 games? Absolutely. I saw just 2 seasons ago, they didn't have it at all until December. They found it that year and went to the finals. Can they find it halfway through this season? Yeah, but I don't think the negatives at the beginning, even if they were there, would be nearly as bad as how they started that year. And when you talk about those guys that are not the healthiest, even if something happens to one of them, those guys are not like your top 2-3 guys. Like when you look at Milwaukee, Chris Middleton was missing time. That's your second best player. When you look at the Sixers, Embiid always banged up. That's your best guy. When you look at Boston, at best, it's your third best player. At the highest. Your top 2 guys, your 2 real superstars, they're going to be there. I'm highly confident in saying that. And anybody else, it might get rough if it's a Porzingis, but I think those gaps are fillable.
Yeah, that's the most available duo probably in basketball. Like I can't think of anybody that's probably more available than Tatum. Like Tatum doesn't miss games really, like ever. He doesn't rest, never really hurt. Brown might miss a game here or there, but he's pretty much always available. So I agree with that, Gabe. But because it's like, if Rob has to miss time, that's why Al Horford's still on the team, because Al Horford can still play pretty good basketball, even though he's getting up there in age or is up there in age. He can still play good basketball. If Porzingis has to miss time, Al Horford's still there. Even if Brogdon misses time, like Devin mentioned, like Peyton Pritchard, still a quality NBA player, still a quality NBA guard off the bench. So, the depth is there, the bodies is there. I want to go back to, you mentioned Derek White earlier in his playmaking. There was a stretch, I don't remember if it was like December or January, but it was like a 2-3 week stretch. He had a lot of games where it was like 7, 8, 9 plus assists. Like he was really playmaking his ass off. I think it's something that's kind of underrated in his game because he was so good defensively last season. He was more efficient than he was his first half season in Boston. That I feel like his playmaking when Smart was out really went under the radar because he was really dishing the pill around. So, I'm not expecting him to average like 8, 9 assists, but I feel like he can provide a lot of what Marcus Smart was doing from a playmaking department. That's why, on court wise, I'm not really too concerned about replacing what Smart brought to the team because Derek White was doing a lot of the shit Smart did, but better last season.
Is bald Derek White going to be a problem?
I hope so. I keep forgetting he cut his hair. I hope he's elite.
He needed to. He really needed to.
Yeah.
Hey, man, when it's time to come home,
More people need to embrace the baldy, man. Like, there's nothing wrong with being bald. As long as you got facial hair, you should be fine.
And even if you don't got facial hair, be handsome, shit. I don't know.
Figure it out.
Me personally, I don't got bald in me. Not yet. Maybe in like 10 years, come back and ask me, but not yet.
Bald at 30 would still be a little tough. Still pretty young at that point.
Yeah, that is not a reality I want to be facing, but I got 8 years for that.
My hairline's still good. Yeah, my hairline's still good.
Mine trying to run back a little bit, man. Hopefully I can make it to 30.
Let's hope, man. Let's hope. But I think that's our Celtics talk for the week.
Is it Raptors time? I'm just kidding.
Oh, bro, you guys brought it up immediately. Why are we doing
You know what's crazy? I'm a known Celtics supporter and I'm a Bulls fan. And y'all brought me on this episode to talk about the Bulls and the Celtics. I don't know if y'all planned that, but let's pretend
that
like
was,
you can't confirm or deny.
I will confirm that I planned that.
Hey. He wanted
Ready
me
to-
to push. He wanted me to push Tatum agendas.
I
Okay,
did. That's exactly what I wanted to do. I knew you were pushing Celtics agendas, bro. I had to give you as much public forum as possible.
You know, one thing
I
when we
understand.
get on camera, a lot of shit that we talk about is not scripted because we might go into a 30-minute tangent about who's going to win Most Improved Player on an episode that's about top 10 small forwards. But a lot of stuff pre-pod is planned. That was planned out like a week ago.
Hey,
Yeah, and in the same message that me and Reek knew that you were joining us this week, Mo, we also knew we were talking about the Celtics and the Bulls. So
Exactly.
and you also knew that we was talking about the power forwards. And before we get into that, you know who I'm gonna put in my honorable mentions. You already know. I'm not gonna say it, but I'm gonna say it. Not right now though.
I don't know if I do know.
I don't know what he's.
Oh,
gonna
you
say.
going? Oh, you're gonna know. You're gonna know.
Okay. It's a bit.
Oh, it's gonna. I know it's gonna be. It's gonna be Patrick, ain't it?
I can neither
That's what I was
confirm
thinking.
nor deny.
that's what I was thinking.
Can neither confirm nor deny.
I can't say he did not make my honorable mentions, but I was impressed with him last season.
For sure. Well, we will get to that momentarily. Just for clarity's sake, for everyone watching, Karl Anthony Towns was included on our centers list, not the power forward list, so he will not be discussed today. Given he will play power forward, but still a center in our eyes. So he was on the center list. AD will feature on this power forward list, so you'll see him discussed here today. KD is also on this power forward list. And outside of that, I believe that is most of the inclusions or exclusions of note. LeBron's also not going to be on this list as well. Tatum's also not on this list. LeBron and Tatum were both on the small forwards list.
For the record, I did have a slight issue with Anthony Davis being on this power forward list and not the center list, but I didn't make the list. So,
bro, if we had AD on center, like that might have been the most stacked list out of all five, bro. Because center was already tough. Center was already tough, man.
I feel
like
this list might be better than the center list.
I feel like
I don't know about
1
that.
through 8 was fine, and then like my last like 2 spots, I'm stuck with like 3, maybe 4 guys.
I still think shooting guard.
This list is more top heavy. Well, no, I don't know if this list is more top heavy than the centers list. Actually,
I don't know if it is.
It is
miles
because
better than it was
it
last
is
year.
because Anthony Davis is included on this list. If it wasn't, then the center list would be more top heavy. But he's a power forward on this list. So.
Yeah. See, because for centers last week, we all 3 had different guys at 10, and then Joseph also had, I think, Jared Allen, which Gabe had. Like
Yes.
the bottom of the list was just so like I had Rudy at like 9. I think I had him maybe the lowest out of everybody, or maybe
I didn't have him on my list at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
So,
I had Rudy at
it's like
9
stuff
as
like that.
Actually, I guess Rudy at 9, dude. It feels so weird having like a world where I really ranked DeAndre over
Like the center list. Yeah, I didn't have DA on my list at all because y'all heard my explanation. But it's just like center was
kind of crazy.
I don't want to say it's an agenda. It's just like I'm kind of sick of his shit, pretty much. Like I'm sick of it. So I just kind of had to like leave him off my list in general. Like he's replaced Anthony Davis for me. It's just somebody I just really can't stand right now because they just disappoint me every year. Like AD's gotten off that list because he's been better, but DA is like the poster child for that list right now.
Hey, I got high expectations for Anthony Davis this year. As long as he play that 65 game minimum, which good luck getting there. Hopefully he gets there. I want him to get there. I got him winning Defensive Player of the Year. That's like how high the expectations are for him. Well, I don't know how to be if he's playing. I don't know what to be if he's not playing center. I really, really, really liked him playing center last year, and it's going to disappoint the hell out of me if he goes back to power forward like a lot.
Is AD playing?
It's going to disappoint me so much. He was so good defensively in that Grizzlies series. Like,
yeah,
he was the best player, and he was the best defensive player in the entire playoffs. And I know he led the playoffs. I know he led the playoff in blocks, and he was out in the third round. But still, that's impressive. You know what I'm saying? Best shot blocker in the playoffs, best defender in the playoffs, best player on the team on the Western Conference Finals team. Hey man,
let's zip it up, buddy.
All right, fuck off.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Disrespectful, man.
It's okay, man. We'll give you your platform again to give all the AD talk in a bit.
Just for that, I'm dropping Siakam 2 spots.
Hey, bro, you're gonna be seeing this little guy right here. This little funny guy. He's gonna be smiling.
Happy rap.
He's become the pod's mascot over the last few weeks as we get sad talking about the Raptors.
You just pulled that out. They definitely got a Benny the Bull one. I might have to go cop that.
Bro, every time you're sad about the Bulls, it just makes everything better. I promise.
Might be the way to go. But that being said, I think it's time to get started with the bottom of our lists. We will start with you, Mo. We'll start from number 10.
All right, I'm gonna start with an honorable mention actually. Do y'all do the honorable mentions last or?
Go ahead.
We don't even really have a set spot.
I'm gonna start off with an honorable mention. Chicago's own, well, not Chicago's own because he ain't from here, but Chicago's best, Patrick Williams. Man, listen, do not sleep on Patrick Williams. Okay, I'm predicting an all defensive caliber season. I say caliber. Well, I was gonna say caliber because I was gonna think that he was gonna get overlooked, but Alex Caruso didn't get overlooked, and I'm very glad he didn't get overlooked last season. So if there was some hope for him, hopefully there's some hope for Patrick Williams. He's a great defender, man. He shoots 40% from the three at the power forward position. You want that. You want wings that can stretch the floor. He got a mid-range game. We gotta get him to open up his bag just a little bit more because it's there. It just needs a little bit more refining. And I can't say enough about Patrick Williams. Hopefully, next season he'll inch off number 10 or number 9. Well, maybe not number 9 because my number 9 is a good player, but a very good player rather. But maybe he can inch off number 10 and sneak on this list. But for my number 10, I actually have, and this was tough. I gave it a little bit of thought, but I eventually settled on Draymond Green at my number 10 position. Probably lower than I thought I would have had him, but looking at everybody, I can't realistically justify putting him above some of the other names on this list just because we know the fantastic defender and playmaker he is for Steph. But other guys on this list, I think just about everybody, except for this next guy, run laps around him offensively. And even this next guy, he's better than him offensively. And, at a certain point, that matters when you're just a non-threat to the defense and stuff like that. Still love Draymond. Still think he's a great player in this league, but he's number 10 at the power forward position for me.
Don't hate it. Go ahead, Gabe.
So I have a different number 10. Draymond was my first name off the list. I did heavily consider him here, but I feel like he took just enough of a step back, and even over more than just the past season, already a little low on him because even when Golden State made their last championship run, he was not good. Came back last year, and yes, he still did some of the good things that he's known for, but not as impressed as I once was. With that said, my number 10 is Evan Mobley. I have to just put this disclaimer out there because the last we saw of Evan Mobley was very bad. That Knicks series was not a good look at all. He's known for being a defensive monster, and he kind of got bullied in the paint by Mitchell Robinson and Isaiah Hartenstein, two guys who are not known to bully people.
Mitchell Hartenstein buckets is crazy.
So, it really was not a good look for him. And then, there's the no bag allegations, and there's some basis to that. So there's some downsides, but I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt because, like I said, haven't been too impressed with recent playoff Draymond either. And looking at what Evan Mobley was, it was his first playoff appearance. And what he did in the 82 games before that to get them to that point was very impressive. Cleveland was one of the top defenses in the NBA, and he was probably the best defensive player on that team. As far as what he can do with the versatility standpoint, as well as being a twin tower down there with Jared Allen, he just offers them so much on that side of the floor. And while he doesn't have a bag, he still put himself in the right places to average a pretty efficient 16 points per game last year. That's not bad by any means for a second-year guy whose main place is on the defensive end. It was a good sophomore campaign for him. I do want to see him eventually work his way to be a full-time 5, really take that spot that Jared Allen has now and really dominate there. But for now, while he's a power forward, I got him at 10.
I don't hate it. He was one of my first names off.
I respect
To be
it.
honest.
Considering where I got him, not far off.
One of my first guys off, man. I'm with Mo. I got Draymond. It's hard for me to leave Draymond off. Like, I really thought about it with, like, Mobley, another guy too. But it's tough for me to leave Draymond off. I do agree a little bit, Gabe. I feel like it was a little regression, but you kind of expect that at this age. And he's still so damn impactful for that Golden State team. Like, really, there was times where, like, Steph missed some games, but they were still functioning well because Draymond was out there. He was getting open looks for Clay when Jordan Poole was still playing good early on in the season. Like, and they were staying afloat a little bit, when they were playing at home at least, because we know about their road struggles. But Draymond's still that guy as a playmaker defensively, still really good. Hard for me to leave him off this list going into this season, man. But I did contemplate it for a long time.
Yeah, that's about where I was at here too with Draymond. I have him at number 10 as well. Like you said, just too much impact still. Still, again, not as good as he was, but a very good defensive player still. Still very important for their offense and his passing and how they run their offense through him. As long as he continues to be as impactful as he is on the defensive end, it's going to be tough for me to take him off this list. He's on the fringes for now, but still deserves to be top 10 in my eyes.
Odd man out, bro. I don't like it. I'm not used to being in this position.
Mobley's not a bad pick though. Like,
no, not at all. He was my next.
He's not a bad pick.
Yeah.
if we going on a number 9, Mobley actually is my number 9. I put him over Draymond because I think at this point he's not even probably. He just is a better defender than Draymond, and he gives me a little bit more on the offensive end as far as scoring. I would like to see him pick it up in terms of his bag, but I think that'll be probably more suited for when he does take over that full-time 5. Because again, he's skinny as hell. He put on some weight, and then they move off of Jared Allen, and he transitions to that full-time 5 role. I think that will be a much better suited role for him, even though he is doing good. With this Twin Tower setup that they have and Jared Allen anchoring, being a rim protector. But I like what I see out of Mobley, man. Mobley is he's still young, so he got room to progress and he got room to grow, and we know this. And he's already grown so much from being in the NBA. I just think a little bit more of the offensive growth, and you gotta when it comes down to it, you gotta really show that you're a force on the defensive end. What happened last playoffs? I get it because it was your first playoffs. Can't have that keep happening. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna tax him for it because again, he's a young player and that was his first playoff experience ever. So yeah, Mobley at number 9.
I'm really curious to see who you left off because I had Mobley but not Draymond, but you have both of them. And maybe it's the guy I have at number 9 because at number 9 I have Aaron Gordon.
Me too, Gabe. My God.
Hey, what? Listen, what Aaron Gordon did for Denver
that was a hot take.
in that playoff run, dude, he was the best defensive player on that team. And they talk about defense wins championships. That Denver team had plenty of offensive firepower. Jokic, Murray, Porter, all of them. But on the defensive side of the ball, Aaron Gordon was the guy who was matching up with the other team's best player every night. And there were some times deep in that playoff run where he be getting some buckets in the right matchup, bro. He was no slouch on the offensive side either. The just evolution of his game since he got to Denver and the impact he provides to them, I really feel like he was one of the most impactful players. When people think of Denver's big 3, it usually is those other 3 guys. But if you make an argument that Aaron Gordon is more impactful than Michael Porter Jr., I don't think that's a wild argument at all. And to say that you were a top 3 most impactful guy on a championship team, that's going to get you some points in my book, especially when you are that important to that team's defense.
Made their defense as respectable as it could be, given that they're playing with 3 guys that are not the best defenders, being 3 of their main scoring options, Jokic, Murray, and Michael Porter Jr. And like you said, Gabe, I'm glad you mentioned that because there were times in the playoffs where they would try and match him up with a smaller guard. a Kyle Lowry or a Duncan Robinson or whoever, just guys that are too small for
Absolutely.
Aaron Gordon
It's
to
not
post.
gonna
Like
work.
this is somebody that's been a 16-point per game scorer like consistently throughout his career. Like people forget, like his offensive game is good and he can do so much. Shot the 3-point shot, respectably at least last season. Hit some big shots in the playoffs. Really good connector guy, man. He does a little bit of everything. I thought it was gonna be a hot take having him like at 9, but he's just that good and he's that important for Denver.
How
Yeah,
many
I mean-
did he score straight in the finals? Because like the Heat was running a real small lineup and he just abused them for that
It was
first
like
quarter.
12,
Didn't he drop
14
Didn't he drop
points?
like 20 in that game? Just like
Yeah, he
some
did.
26 or something like that.
Yeah,
If I'm not mistaken,
I'm
he dropped.
saying, they forgot about Aaron Gordon on offense.
He went
bro.
like,
let
crazy in that first
that
quarter.
guy
I'm like,
beat
what's
us.
going on?
They lost.
Yeah, like
lost.
Denver Aaron Gordon might be better, but they forgot about Orlando Devin Gordon because that guy can still get his own on the offensive end.
Oh yeah,
no doubt about
bucket
it.
for sure. Wasn't he a 20-point per game scorer or like just under?
Close to it.
Yeah, he was
Something
around
like
that
that.
in Orlando the one year. Yeah, no, this is where I had him too. You should have had to know I was going to have him here. Reek, I had him as an All-Star last year.
That's
This
true,
guy
man.
is-
That's true.
So that he had a case.
He really
Definitely
did.
had a case, but he's definitely much lower on the totem pole of making an All-Star game compared to the 8 guys above him. So number 9 is as high as he's going for me.
For sure.
Right.
I'm gonna let y'all know right now. And Gordon's actually not on my list. I would have had him coming in at 11, so he did get snubbed for me. A reason why I would have Draymond. I feel like Draymond and Mobley. Well, Mobley is a superior defender to both of them, and I feel like he was in. It was Jaren Jackson Jr., but I feel like Mobley was in Defensive Player of the Year conversation as well because he was the main piece that kept that him as well as Jared Allen, but they were the main 2 pieces that kept that Cavs defense top. However, for damn near the entire season. And then Draymond, I mean, I probably could swap them, but I'm not going to. So yeah. But at number 8, I am a known hater of this man. But I'm gonna give credit where credit is due. Give me Julius Randle at number 8. Definitely was not going no higher than this, like at all. You might even be surprised at who I got at number 7. Julius Randle it's been so up and down in New York. He had that strange second team All NBA season, and then fell off the face of the earth, and then makes it up with a third team All NBA selection this year. It's a very puzzling, very very confusing case with Julius Randle. When he's good, he's good. When he's bad, it's like he's terrible. And I wish that we could. I really, really hope that we can see like at least one consistent playoff run. It don't got to be anything crazy, but just like one solid playoff run from Julius Randle on this Knicks team to vindicate everything that he's been through with this Knicks team. But yeah, number 8, he's not going no higher than this. So I'll level with you guys because I feel like you guys would have him maybe a little bit higher than this, if not at here. So
well, I'm gonna level with you right now. And I'm going to tell you that I have him at the exact same spot. He is also my number 8 pick. Like you said, ups and downs. That's really the story of it. Like, he had one good regular season where he won Most Improved, then one really terrible one where the Knicks fell out of the playoffs. And then last year he came back up and was pretty good again. But the consistent thing was, in both of those playoff appearances with the Knicks, he was terrible. Like, he was just not consistent, not the guy he needed him to be. Definitely not a number 1. The number 1 became Brunson. And that's just like Julius Randle, he's not a playoff number 1. He's a good player, but his game does rely a little bit too much on difficult shot making for my liking. So when they're not falling, sometimes his impact is very limited. And so there are some significant drawbacks that come with Julius Randle. If he's down, if he's in a shooting slump, he just is not as impactful as a player at all. So I'm definitely with you on the number 8 take.
I got him
right on
a little higher. I got him a little higher,
man. Who you got him above, man? Who's your number 8?
Some guys, but I know this is only
some guys. Wait, multiple?
Some guys, yes.
Oh no!
I'm gonna defend Julius when I get there. But
you're gonna have Jay in chat
and
you defending him.
You making it sound like he's up there on the list, man.
Yep. My number 8, though, as you guys know, I've been very consistent with guys that missed significant time for whatever reasons it has been. Had John Morant pretty low on the point guard list. I think I had somebody low on the center list too. Might have been Cat. I had him lower than all of you guys.
Yeah.
Look, when this guy's on the court, he's fucking amazing. He's top
Oh
four.
no! Oh fuck!
Oh my.
No!
Wait, who are?
When he's on the
Oh
court.
no!
No!
The guy's not on the fucking court ever, bro. I got Zion at 8, bro. I got Zion at 8. You can't expect to get more than 30 games out of this guy, bro. Like, it's nice when he is on the court because he's amazing. He's one of the most unstoppable scorers in basketball. I'm consistent, though. Very consistent. He fits the criteria of somebody that's going to drop on my list just because the motherfucker misses so much damn time. If he shows me he can play 50 games, he'll be back up to top 4, but he's not there for me, man.
I'm sorry, bro. I'm in certain instances, yeah, I'm a fan with injury taxing players, but like I'm not. Number one, if I'm an injury tax them, I'm not putting them like under. I just rather not put them on the list if I was going to put him at 8 under like Julius Randle.
You see, but he's just good enough to where he has to be that high. But it's just like if it was a one-off thing, like Dame getting hurt, like that's understandable when Dame missed all that time in 2021-22. That's understandable. This is every year with Zion, man. And he got drafted in 19. It's been like that every year. Like, it just kind of is what he is at this point. And I got to factor that in at some point, right? Like cool, 29 games of you being great, that's fine. But what about the other 50, however many games that is? Like, you're missing so much fucking time. I can't get behind that, man. He's got to drop. He's got to drop for me.
If you putting Zion at number 8, you would hate my like top 10 current players. You would hate my top 10.
Look, man, it's just I got to stay consistent. 2, it's him consistently missing.
Hey,
75% of the season.
I always
100% of the season. Like, he misses so much fucking time, bro.
When I injury tax, and I said this, I think on our small forwards list, it might have been
just with Paul George.
I was like, I will injury tax you if you guys are on the same tier, but I think that Zion is on a higher tier than a lot of these guys on the mid-level of the list.
Yeah, see, we got some names before we get to people that's on Zion's here.
See, that's you, but this is me. I had John Morant low, and I think Ja, when he's available, he misses a lot of time too, but then the off-court shit too. I had him low for that same exact fucking reason. Like, I got to tax motherfuckers somewhere. As this is it's so consistent with Zion, man.
Stability is availability, so I get it.
It's a rationale. Like, there's no argument against that. It's just your criteria is taking that into account. So
it's just hearing Zion at 8 is so jarring compared to where everybody else got.
I know it is, and I knew I was going to be the one guy that had him. I knew that when I had Ja low. I knew that when I had Cat lower than most. Like, I know what comes with the territory, man.
Yeah, you're sticking to it. You're staying consistent. I'm with it. Before I give my pick, shout out Country Kong coming back in the chat, man. That's our fellow other Raptors fan of the pod now. We appreciate it.
Glorifying the regular season, Reek. You're glorifying the regular season according to chat.
Zion ain't been healthy for the one playoff run that the Pelicans have had. If that's the case, I should dock him more.
Before we get to number 8, how far do you think the Pelicans potentially would make it if they had Zion for that playoff run? Because didn't they take 2 games off the 1 seed Suns anyway without Zion?
They did.
It took 2 games. They
probably beat Phoenix.
They're beating.
I was going to say, you know what I'm saying?
Phoenix was.
That was which year was that? Was that the year that
that was the year that the Mavericks fucking dogged them in Game 7?
Yeah. I ain't gonna lie, they might have got on their ass for real. The Pelicans might have upset them
with an efficient 27 added to their fucking team. Yeah,
and it was because it was a 6 games, but it was a dogfight 6. It was a dogfight 6 games.
It was,
if I remember that series correct. So hey, Zion, man, you got to stay healthy, bro. Please.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's where we're at, Kong, right now. Is like, if Zion can play in the playoffs, we can make do with him missing some time in the regular season. He hasn't been healthy in the postseason either. That's the
video.
That's the biggest thing.
We got the video last week where I said that exact thing. I said, bro,
games.
let the motherfucker miss all the time he wants during the regular season. Just have him ready for March and April.
45, 50 games. I will be happy if he's averaging that 27 on 60 plus. He's a top 4 motherfucking power forward in the league easily. But him playing 29 games and missing large chunks of the season, I just can't get behind.
It's the 29 games and the playoffs too. Just the 29 games is one thing. The playoffs, bro, consecutive years. It's just, I
hope I got faith though that this will be the year. I just have to see it to really believe it, man. Like I got to see him play those 45 to 50 games, still be elite, then make the playoffs, him be available for the playoffs. If I see that, like that'll kill everything for me. And if he's a 45 to 50 game player every year of his career, I'm happy with that because they're a playoff team with him playing that many games.
For sure. Let's hope we can get that from Zion this year. I'll let you go on with number 7 real quick, Mo, because this is where I have Julius Randle as well. You guys touched on everything that needs to be said. Keeps making all NBA teams, but some flaws in his games to put him over some of the guys ahead of him on this list. But definitely deserve to be comfortably back on this list this year. No doubt about that.
For sure. He definitely would have missed out on it last year. But he didn't miss out on it last year, or he didn't miss out on it this year. He's number 8. But I got at number 7, and this pains me as a Bulls fan saying this because, like, what could have been, you know what I'm saying? It's Lauri Markkanen. I can't say that I was the happiest camper when Lauri Markkanen just, like, shot the fucking lights out the gym every game to start off the season and then, like, didn't cool off until he got injured. I can't say I was the happiest camper that he didn't do that for my team, but he didn't do that for my team. And he didn't do it for the Cavs either. They didn't unlock his potential. Jazz did. They gave him the keys, and that motherfucker turned a Honda into a Ferrari. He was going absolutely crazy. And he was an all-star last year, wasn't he?
Sure was.
Yeah. He had the Utah Jazz as like the 1 seed for a good 20 games, which we knew they was gonna fall off, but like they was great for that 20 games. We was like, hey, why are they still up here? You know what I'm saying? But Lauri Markkanen, I can't gush enough about Lauri Markkanen because I really like what I saw from him last season. Hopefully, with the injury, he's all good to play this season, and we can see more of what we saw from last season. Hopefully, it's not like a 1-year wonder type thing, because obviously we saw a similar situation from that with the player that we just talked about. Motherfuckers was like shooting like 38% from 3 and then completely fell off a cliff the next year. So hopefully that doesn't happen with Lauri Markkanen. I would like to see him continue to progress in this Utah system where he's still going to be the number 1 option and, just develop his game more. It sucks that we couldn't unlock his potential like that. But, hey, another man's trash.
Takes the right situation sometimes.
Hey.
Well, I'm all crazy right now because I got Lowry at 7 as well.
It's because we locked in.
I damn near. I was really this close to putting him over the guy I had at 6. But the more I thought about it, my guy at 6, I just think he's a better player overall. A little bit more proven. But Lowry, talking about him at 7, I just want to see him continue it next year. I think this year was a great step. Obviously, was not touching this list a year ago. What he did on that Jazz team was special. Had them hooping at the beginning of the season. They were actually in the playoff race, had that 1 seed for a little bit. It then had their fall off, came back down to earth, which most people expected. But he still, throughout the season, he did not fall back down to earth. Maintained that efficient, almost 25 points per game. And that can't be understated. Like, being a number 1 option and playing that efficiently as your first time as really the lead guy, that's not stuff you see often, and that's why he deserved that most improved player bid. It's just going to be, how does this translate to winning, and how long can he keep this up? There's still some questions about it because, like you were saying, we've seen people have this really efficient season and then come back down to earth the next year. And not saying that his game's really built to be a fluke. I think that he will maintain at least most of this great play, but the 6 guys above him are just more proven to me.
That's fair. I got Julius at 7. I was talking like I had him at like 4 or something. I got him at 7.
I was gonna say, bro. You said guys. I was like multiple
guy.
I was gonna say,
I feel like
man.
y'all was. I feel like last season, not this past season, but the year after the first All NBA season, definitely was so disappointed just how he just crashed back down to earth. Like you said, Mo, we know Julius Randle's not a 40% 3-point shooter. That's gonna go down. The mid-range fadeaways, those are probably gonna miss a little more. It was a bad year. He was kind of mentally checked out. The Knicks were bad. But I like how he bounced back this season. I feel like having a Jalen Brunson really just helped him be who he is and impact the game in different ways, not have a big, playmaking load on the table like how he did that very first year when he made All NBA. Was hitting the boards at a different level this year. There were a stretch where he was averaging like 12, 13 rebounds a game, mid-season. He was really good there. The playoffs was definitely bad. We can't discount that. But people forget he hurt his ankle, came back and hurt it again. It's tough to really get going after like hurting your ankle multiple times. We saw Jimmy Butler slow down after the ankle injury that he had against the Knicks. So I'm not gonna chirp him too hard for that. But if like this season he's bad again in the playoffs without any injuries or anything, we're out of excuses, man. Like you got Brunson with you. If you're bad again, then you just might be a playoff dropper, which we talked about Sabonis last week. Maybe he's just built to be that kind of playoff dropper because he takes a lot of tough shots. Not the best tough shot maker, but he takes a lot of them. So he might just be that guy. But I got him at 7.
Very, very understandable considering the criteria for the Zion placement. But this is where I had Lauri Markkanen as well myself. Like you guys touched on, great breakout year from him last year. He's just really proved to be, especially from the forward position, which is not typically a position we attribute this with, being one of the best off the ball players in the league. Like he can still create at times on the ball, but compared to some of the other guys around him on this list, especially when we just talked about Julius Randle, a guy who does create a lot of tough shots for himself, can be a spacer, good 3-point shooter on the catch and shoot, really good coming off of pin downs, really good coming off of screens. Like he's just a really tough guy to deal with off the ball. And when they have a lot of guards in and around him now, and Jordan Clarkson and Ochai Agbaji and THT, they have a lot of guys that aren't the best playmakers, but can put Lauri Markkanen in spots to succeed around a lot of dudes who have a lot of size and can screen and get him some space. When you talk about Walker Kessler, when you talk about John Collins, he's just in a really good situation right now. Like you guys said, hopefully we don't see much of a step back from him this year, given the fact that so much of his game is more off ball. It is very efficient. It is nowhere near as many difficult shots as Julius Randle is. And the fact he's proven to be a pretty good shooter, at least from 3 throughout most of his career. I don't expect that type of drop, but we'll see what comes from him in Utah heading into this year. No crazy expectations again, so there should be pretty little pressure on him to come in and succeed once again in Utah.
For sure, man. Number six. I think at number 6 is where the list started to get. This is probably the most difficult placement I had, just between number 5 and number 6. At number 5, I'm going to go with Jaren Jackson Jr., and I will explain why this was so difficult for me when we get to number 5. But Jaren Jackson Jr., obviously coming off a Defensive Player of the Year campaign, one that was well-deserved for sure. You look at just what he's able to bring, not only on the defensive end, being the best player on the defensive end on this team and being the anchor, but also on the offensive end. You don't get too many 6'11" guys who can shoot decently well from the 3. I think he was shooting like 36, 37%. And regardless of how many he's taken, I like him taking them if they going in at that clip. I'm pretty sure he's shooting better than Ja at that aspect. So that's a plus. You space the floor however you want to do. I feel as though he does have significant potential on the offensive end. He still has room to grow his bag a little bit more, but probably what's keeping me from putting him in that top 5 is he has to be a better rebounder without, Steven Adams there, because some nights it's like, yo, we need you to grab more boards. You 6'11", you're not 6'11" for no reason. You can use that height to your advantage, bro. We need you to. So taking that leap as a rebounder, and I think that's probably the biggest thing that he can work on in this game right now is being able to grab boards as needed, as a big man should. I get he's playing that power forward position, but up them rebound numbers a little bit, partner. And then again, on the offensive side of the ball, it's serviceable for now because you're not focusing on Jaren Jackson Jr. when you got a sniper and Desmond Bain on your team and John Morant, who's just a whole problem in himself. So his offensive game isn't even like a problem for this Grizzlies team. Not to say that they would be a problem anyway, but he does have room to grow in that. He has room to grow in rebounding. And as far as defense, his defense has carried him to number 6 at this list. And I think that he's a top 4, 5, 6 defender in the league. So that's got to count for something. I got Jaren Jackson Jr. at 6.
Well, we're so in sync right now, bro. Oh, I love it. I love it. Listen,
we locked in.
I'm gonna just continue the Jaren train because this is what I was saying, bro. I almost had him below Lowry because I was like, oh, Lowry's more of a number 1. He's more of a true star type guy. And I was like, fuck that. Like, bro, look at this shit Jaren Jackson's doing on this Grizzlies team. Number 1 defensive player of the year. Number 1 defensive player of the year. And I was right there with him the whole time. Very deserved. I say it all the time, bro. The Grizzlies defense started off the year mid. Jaren Jackson Jr. came back, and he became the best defense in the NBA. His solo defensive impact and what he does in transforming a team's defense cannot be understated. Not to mention, we're talking about holes in his offensive game. There were games last year where he was putting up some real nice scoring numbers. I'm not going to lie to you. And the Grizzlies were still looking solid. In games without Ja, he missed some time right in the middle of the season, the first time he had the off-court incident. Jaren Jackson was looking real nice on both sides of the ball. Not saying he's going to be some 25-point-per-game scorer, but I think he's even a little bit better than serviceable. I think he's really upped his game there. And when you're the award saying you're the best defensive player in the NBA, now at minimum probably like top 5 if you're even in contention for that award. And then being an above-average offensive player at that point, a good offensive player even, you got to go this high because I really expect Desmond Bain's probably going to have the flashy scoring numbers. He's going to probably have a lot of highlights. He's probably going to be the guy that most people are talking about if the Grizzlies start off the season good with Ja out. But who do I actually think is going to be the best player on this team while Ja is not there? It's Jaren Jackson. And if you're the best player on a good team, I'm going to have to give you credit for that.
I got Lowry at 6. Y'all already said everything that needs to be said about him. He was great last season. And I don't think there's going to be a drop-off just because what Devin mentioned, like, he's such a good off-ball player. I don't expect him to just forget how to shoot the three-point shot because he's going to take 8, 9, 10 attempts a game, and he's probably going to shoot a very high percentage.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely expect that from Laurie. This is where I have Jaren Jackson Jr. as well, but hey, I like the propaganda we're pushing as Raptors fans. I like it.
That's
Y'all
so nasty.
gotta stop with this, bro.
Wasn't there a stretch where OG was like in the conversation?
If I'm being a little bit of
it takes a lot.
I'm being a little bit of a provocateur and instigating a little bit, I think the OG gas has been just pumped. I think we need to pump the brakes on the OG gas just a little bit. I'm saying people when he was in trade talks like crazy, it slowed down a little bit because it's the off season. Seeing people commanded like 3 first-round picks for OG, and you're not getting that. I don't know why people thought that they was gonna get that. And then I'm seeing him like lauded as, this world beater type defender. Like he's great, but like pump the brakes a little bit. It's certain players that like NBA Twitter and the NBA media just fall in love with, but like for the wrong reason. I don't know. I was kind of getting that vibe from OG at the the tail end of last season.
Yeah. I think it's a combination of Raptors fans still just anticipate him to take this jump to being this efficient 20-point per game scorer. He's not that. And the other part of it is the fact that there's just so many teams that want or need what OG has. And there's just not many dudes that can do that. So his value kind of gets overinflated at times, which I get it because your value is determined by how much your commodity is amongst the league. I mean, there's a lot of good point guards in this league. And so a backup point guard, you're pretty common to find. You're not that worried about it. But a wing like OG, it's a pretty rare commodity. So that's where those 3 first-round pick discussions start to come in. based on the team, depending on the year, maybe. But like skill set alone, independent of what is actually available in the league that can be in a similar mold of OG, that's where it gets a little bit tough. That's where that value kind of comes in. But I definitely get what you're saying. There's definitely some conversations, even just within Raptors fans, that it's just like, bro, what are we talking about? Like this
You
guy's
want to know
just...
where that value? You want to know where that value comes in at? And this is like I'm putting my tinfoil hat on here right now. It's the Clippers' fault because they hoarding all the 3-and-D wings. They got the superstars in Kawhi and MPG. They got the solid role player type guys and Robert Covington and Norman Powell. They got the ones that suck and the Morris twin that's there. I forget which one. Bro, it's why they had also another one that sucks, Batum. You know what I'm saying? Why do they have
too.
why do they fourth quarter yelling, why the fuck Batum, man? Why do they got 6 players that fit this mold and like all of them getting playing time? And it's just I don't know. But we was talking about OG and number 5 I got his Raptors teammate. I don't know for how long, but I got his Raptors teammate Siakam. Siakam's in an interesting spot when it comes to like all NBA type caliber players, all-star caliber players in this league because it's been a minute since we've probably seen Siakam as like a one of those guys like universally, but I don't think he's ever not been that, post 2019. I think that he's continued to play very well. It's just unfortunate that the Raptors seem to have thought that they were going to immediately contend, and then like that clearly was not going to happen. And then they never pulled the trigger on the Siakam trade. He's just still here on this roster. Still don't know what they're waiting for to pull a trigger on that. I think that it's like time's up for that. That should have been happened. I don't know why they can't get a deal done, but maybe he's I don't know. It's something to do with that. But Siakam at 5, I feel like this is the perfect place for him. I really like Siakam. I hope that he can like kind of return to his return his aura, if I might say, and like maybe that'll happen if he's not on the Raptors because the Raptors have been bad, and you can't really maintain your status as one of the best players in the league on like just a sucky team. That's just not gonna happen. So yeah, I got Siakam at 5.
For sure.
We locked in again. We locked in.
Please just get the trade done. Let's get the trade done, bro.
Are we locked in, Gabe?
Yes, we're locked.
We locked in. Let's go.
Right now. I'm so sick and fucking tired of this shit, bro. Pascal Siakam, listen, he's a good number 1 option. He is a phenomenal number 2 option. His all-around game, it's a guy that's going to get you like 24, 8, and 6, bro. 24, 8, and 6. That's such a well-rounded game. His isolation game only continues to progress every year. He was a little bit of a downturn in shooting last season, but he's had seasons in the past where he shoots pretty well as well. So he just does everything at least average or above average. He does it on the defensive end. He's been known as a hustle guy his whole career, even if he's not as much of a hustle guy because he has more of an actual role on the team as a star guy. But he just does everything so well. He's like I don't want to say a perfect player, but what team wouldn't want him? And if what team wouldn't want him, why has he not been traded? But I don't want to make this Raptors talk. He's just a great player in a bad situation. While the team has not been very good the past couple of years, we've seen Pascal Siakam as the best player on a very good team in 2020, the bubble season. And we saw him as a number 2 on a championship team, and he's better than he was when he was a number 2 on a championship team. So you're telling me him, as good as he was right now, can't do that again? I don't know if anybody on this list below him is a number 2 on a championship team. I think the guys above him can be number 1s on teams that are contending for titles. But as far as Pascal Siakam goes, I think 5 is his spot.
I got Jaren at 5. Defensively, deep boy. We know how elite he is. He's like you said, Gabe, turned that Memphis team completely around on one end of the floor. He's just that good. And I like how y'all mentioned like his offensive game has taken strides. Mo mentioned about a league average 3-point shooter, which you don't get that from a lot of
I think he's
6'11"
slightly above
guys.
league average actually.
Yeah, you don't get that from a lot of guys, man. And even like, he got a little bit of a bag on him. Like he got some big guard work. Like he's definitely a little bit. Like he can create a little bit off the dribble, get to the basket. Like very, very nuanced improvements on the offensive side of the floor. And I think you mentioned it, Mo. Like he doesn't need to be a 22, 23-point per game scorer because Desmond Bain's that good and John Morant's that good. So him being the third guy that provides a little bit of a different offensive look is just perfect for what Memphis needs. And his defensive value is just twice that of what he brings on offense. He's just that good on the end of the floor.
Definitely. Jaren has always been that guy in Memphis, and last year he showed it even more. But I'm going a different route from Gabe and Mo here. This is where I'm going to go Zion. This is where he takes the injury tax hit for me.
Okay.
Siakam and Zion is just two guys that I continue to flip back and forth on. Did the same thing last year in my lists, and I did the same thing this year in my lists. And last year I put Zion over Siakam because I was buying into Zion being a little bit healthier last year. He was playing over the majority of the season, still missed the postseason, of course, but at least he was there. He was so dominant when he was there. This year we just didn't get that. The injuries were more of a concern again. Missed over half the season. Availability comes back. He's comfortably over Siakam, but until then, those two are guys that I really struggle with ranking otherwise. When the injury concerns are present, the injury concerns are very much present for Zion right now. So clearly above him when he's healthy, but for the time being, he is at number 5 until he can prove to me he can actually play at least half the season. Like we at least got to get to that point.
I'll jump in real quick.
Violence, bro.
Pascal at 4. That's what I got at 4. Because I'm gonna let y'all talk y'all shit about Zion, but I got Pascal at 4.
Well, you might be a mind reader, a fortune teller, because I got Zion at 4, and I got some shit I want to talk about. So the biggest thing with Zion is obviously get on the court and play a game. Like, please, you're a great player. We want to see you play. We want to see you thrive. But, hey, man, he out here, you know what I'm saying, hitting things he shouldn't hit. You know what I'm saying? He a dad now. He got to take that into his life, take that into account for his life. Now he a dad. He has responsibilities. I guess it might be bigger than basketball. I ain't gonna lie. At this point, we might never see him on the court again with how shit playing out. Nah, I'm just playing. But Zion, bro, he's a phenomenal talent, and that's like the best thing that I can say about him right now because we've seen that phenomenal talent, but we ain't seen it enough, bro. It's just talent. It's untapped potential. Like you gotta. This might sound crazy, but in a perfect world where you know what I'm saying, Zion was playing 65 games in a season, he might have been number 3 on this list. And considering who I got at number 3, you might consider that a little crazy. But hey, Zion, bro, I'm not even gonna talk about his hyper efficiency in scoring some very difficult buckets. You know what I'm saying? Highly contested ass. It's just like, bro, ridiculous when he plays, but he ain't playing, and I can't justify him being above any of the top 3. So he stuck solidly at number 4 until he gets a season under his legs, until he can like contribute to his team. That would be nice. But until then, he's gonna be a number 4. And I might have to keep taxing him if this keep. I'm not gonna lie. If he don't play more than 50 games this season, hey, bro, we just gonna. I damn to just not put him on my list because what are we doing at this point?
Yeah, at that point, are you an NBA player or are you like a part-time substitute, bro?
He's a thief. He is stealing money from the New Orleans Pelicans.
That's not the worst take I've ever heard. This is his last chance, though, of like benefit of the doubt mode. And the only reason why I still justify putting him this high this season is because when he played, they were literally playing at a 1 seed level. Like they were quite literally at the top of the Western Conference. And that just showed me how good he was. And it sucks that he went out, because every time he's played, he's been this crazy efficient 27 points per game, completely unstoppable, fits on the floor well with CJ, with Brandon Ingram, with whoever he's out there with. It all looks so good. But then he just gets hurt.
Exactly what it is. It looked good.
That's really all I can say. And I think at this point, he's got to come to that realization that, listen, it's got to be basketball. It can't be about porn stars. And he's gonna take that jump. He's a father now. He's got kids. You think Zion's kids want to look at their dad and say, "Damn, he ain't never go to work." Nah, he's got some shit to prove now. He's ready. He's doing it for family. He's doing it for family, y'all. And he's gonna come out.
And nothing stronger than family.
This took a turn. I wasn't expecting that to be part of the agenda, man.
Hey,
that's hilarious.
I'm ready. I'm ready for playoff Zion, bro. He's because he's not going to play enough games for them to get a super high seed. But guess what? If he's playing in April, they got a chance.
Playoff Zion is an oxymoron.
For now,
doesn't exist so far.
Hopefully, for now.
I mean, if it's anything like NCAA tournament Zion, we gonna get an elite player for sure.
Definitely. Let's hope, man. Let's hope for all of our sakes.
All we can do is hope, man.
Especially when he's on the court, but that just brings us to our top three.
Hold up, who you got up? No, I'm just playing. You said Pascal.
Yeah. No, wait. I'd love to have Pascal higher, but there's no way I can have him higher than number 4. There's no shot.
I think this might be the part where the list gets really interesting outside of Zion placements. Because outside of Zion placements, they've all pretty much been the same since like 9.
I mean, I think we're gonna probably keep more of the same. Just looking at the 3 names that we got here.
I think 2 and 3 might have an argument.
Can I start?
I don't think so. I don't know about all that. Well, I would say 2 and 1 got a better argument than 2 and 3, and 2 and 3 got no argument.
Just in case, because I haven't made an original point in a while, because me and Maud are all the same players. I'm gonna start off number 3, bro. I'm gonna start off number 3.
Yeah, you do that. Do that.
I was expecting him to do it, but okay, go ahead, Gabe.
I got AD.
Oh,
I got AD at 3.
Good thing you started off this point, dude.
Because I didn't know if somebody was going to put AD over Kevin Durant. I did not. I thought there might be an argument there that somebody might want to make, especially because of his defense. And I think if Anthony Davis was 100% Anthony Davis all the time, where he was giving you the offensive consistency mixed with the defensive impact, he might be better than Kevin Durant right now. Because there's times where he for real looks like you guys were saying, the best player on the court on a conference finals team. But the things that he can do, especially on the defensive side of the ball, there's a reason why he's in Defensive Player of the Year talks every single season. He was at the helm of the Lakers turnaround this season. It was not LeBron. I say it like every week. They really started getting those wins up and really turned their season around. LeBron missed time, and it was AD and the role player guys. And the only thing knocking him really is that level of consistency that I just don't feel like is always theirs. On that offensive end, there's some nights where he looks like this dominant force. He's making jumpers. He's bullying you in the post. He's doing whatever the fuck he wants. And then there's other nights where it's like, all right, what are we doing? What are we doing right now? Don't have that aggression. Don't have the shot-making ability. It's just not the same. And that's really just what you get. And when you compare him to a guy like Kevin Durant, I feel like if Kevin Durant is wearing a jersey, he's giving you 100% of himself. I feel like at this point they missed like a similar amount of time. So I can't really use like the injury tax for either of them against each other that much. But I do know when KD suits up, he's always giving me this great production. Anthony Davis, if he's suiting up, it might not always be all that. So that's why I got AD at 3.
Pretty much just ripped like my agenda, like exactly what I was gonna say about comparing those two. Like you basically said exactly word for word what I was gonna say. But you know, I'm a real guy, man. Like I'm honest. I like to apologize to players when they answer the call, man. Anthony Davis, I'm sorry, man, because last couple of years,
that's the right thing to do, in my opinion.
I've been probably his harshest critic outside of maybe Laker Nation, but I've been so critical of Anthony Davis because I expect so much from him. And last season, he finally was able to put it together. Now, like Gabe said, he's gonna miss his games. That's fine. When he was on the court this season, one of the best front court players. Hell, one of the best players in basketball, in my opinion. Like both ends of the floor. Gabe said he was the one that really spurred that run for the Lakers. Yeah, they made all those moves, but Anthony Davis on both ends of the floor was pretty dominant night in and night out. After the trade deadline, he was great. He answered the call in the playoffs. Yeah, it might have been game on, game off offensively, but defensively, best player on the court every single fucking night. And I got to give credit where it's due, man, because this guy's kind of been just on my bad side because it was always like, the 21 season when they lost to the Suns, he missed a lot of time, never got a rhythm. His numbers were low. He got hurt in the playoffs, but then the next season he's coming back like, yeah, if I was healthy, we would have beat the Suns, blah, blah, blah. I didn't back it up on the court. I felt like with the Russell Westbrook addition of the Lakers, AD had to be one of the best players in the world for them to be successful, and he wasn't that. But this season, after they made the moves, he elevated his game to new levels. I was so impressed. I'm not expecting him to play the 65-game minimum, but if he does, that's great. He's an all-NBA player. Like you said earlier, Mo, DPOY candidate. He's that damn good. And it's tough for me to put him over like a Kevin Durant because of what Gabe said. Because there's a little bit of a ramp-up period when AD misses games. If KD misses games, he's coming back. He's 28 points on damn near 50, 40, 90. That's just how good Kevin Durant is. So, that's pretty much what I got to say about that. But Anthony Davis, I apologize, man. You answered the call, and I love to see it.
Yeah, that's about where I'm at too with AD and KD. You guys brought it all up with injury concerns being neutral, the inconsistency with AD, KD just being able to show out on any given night, regardless of whether he's in and out of the lineup. There is very little between the two of them right now as far as where I rank them. And if AD started to be a little bit more consistent or started to be a little bit more available, as unlikely as that is, he probably jumps above KD, especially given the fact that although KD was very good for most of his time in Phoenix last year, he wasn't exactly the KD we typically know in the postseason. Devin Booker had to do a lot of the heavy lifting, and that's not to say that KD was bad. He just wasn't KD, which is an absurdly elite player on the offensive end. He was just very great. Just, again, not bad. It's just not the KD we're used to seeing. And when you're comparing him to a guy like AD, who's in the conversation, as we've said multiple times in this stream, as one of the best, if not the best defensive player in the league, it's a tough battle to be in. So two very elite talents, two top 10 players in this league, in my eyes. I think they're right next to each other, toe for toe. One is the elite offensive guy and one is the elite defensive guy, but give me KD on the edge for the time being. But like you mentioned, Tyrik, great to see a good bounce back here from AD, a great bounce back run while LeBron was out as they made their run into the postseason, and many of his postseason performances that were very positive. He cleans up those inconsistencies. Might see a little bit of a step forward from him, a bit of a step forward from the Lakers, and a bit of a step forward for him on this list.
Yeah, I'm not gonna beat a dead horse. Number 3 is AD, and I'm gonna assume we all have the same number 2 and number 1, but I'm gonna tell you my number 2 anyway is Kevin Durant. I mean, Kevin Durant is Kevin Durant. I'm gonna just explain. It's gonna be easier to explain why he's not number 1, and the easiest way for me to put that is that, simply put, since the 2020 finals, Giannis has just, not only has he been more available than KD, he's just been better. I don't think that's like a hot take at all. I've rated him as a higher player quite literally ever since the 20 did I say 2020? I meant to say 2021 if I said 2020. But the 2021 finals, obviously, ever since then, I don't think Giannis has really left the throne of being that best player in the world type player. I think he got dethroned last, probably the start of the playoffs is when we when the Bucks went down and all that happened. We was probably like, yeah, Jokic is probably the best in the world. And then he went and did what he did in the playoffs, just absolutely absurd. But yeah, KD at 2, and then I guess I can spoil Giannis at 1. I don't think that's I think that's probably the most lukewarm, the most normal take that any of us can have here. KD at 2, Giannis at 1. KD is KD, Giannis is Giannis.
I got Jeremy Grant at 1, but
that's
Giannis
crazy.
is cool, I guess.
That's crazy.
Lying now. We just lying on a live public forum now. That's crazy.
Capping. capping.
But
It's always boring when you get to the top of the list. Like there wasn't really a huge debate.
For a list like this,
it's only the point guard list because
it's always point guard list.
Never agree. I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know.
Listen, just set the record straight. If I was here for the small four list, I don't know how many of y'all would have had Tatum at one, but I would have.
We all had Tatum.
We all did.
Oh, damn. Well, never mind. Well, I know I would have had Kawhi higher than most of y'all.
Yeah, I think I had Kawhi.
I had him at 2. I think you guys had him at 3.
Damn, you had him at 2 too?
Yeah, I had him at 2.
I think Gabe had him at 2.
I had Kawhi at 2.
Oh, you did?
I was fine. I was fine for my life.
Damn,
right.
No, because I went on the whole spiel about how somehow LeBron moved down on my list despite Kawhi.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was fine for my life.
Dude, listen. This is my thing with Giannis. Is I've been on the Giannis is the best basketball player on earth train for about 3 years now. And I'm giving Jokic the spot right now because the shit he just did was ridiculous. And I understand, but like, I think Giannis is gonna fight back, bro. Giannis he has it in him. He's just that kind of guy where I feel like he's gonna come out this year. He's gonna put the Bucks on his back because their supporting cast is not gonna be on as much.
He's done it before, and won MVPs while doing. Giannis my MVP.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I think he's gonna get back to winning more MVPs, and he's gonna take his spot back as the best player in the world. That's what I think he's going to do.
I think the general NBA fan base low-key forgot who Giannis was because of that. Granted, it was embarrassing. That embarrassing playoff loss to an AC. It was embarrassing. But I think the general NBA fan might have forgot who Giannis was. And he going to remind motherfuckers. He definitely going to do it.
I still got Giannis. I'm not going to let that change too much. I still got Giannis at 1. That's just me, though.
In the league?
Yeah, I still got Giannis at 1.
That's not the craziest thing ever. I'm only putting Jokic right there because, that shit. Bro, the shit Jokic just did was just like,
incredible.
What, bro? Every night with him just watching, it's just he doing some more absurd shit. It really didn't make any sense. I didn't understand it, but hey, that's greatness.
Yes. Yeah, Giannis is like you still have to respect what he did. He's still such a dominant player. He just night in, night out in the regular season just quietly does what he does. He doesn't have a bag though.
He has no bag.
I don't care.
Exactly.
He's the only guy in the league.
About?
Like I don't care. Like,
30 point per game square with no bag. Call him Shea Gilgeous. Now let me stop. See, I'm a Shea hater.
I feel like Shea hating has become not a trend, but like I see more of it.
Listen, I was on. I'm not even a hater. He's just like overrated, bro. And it's. People act like they've never seen a 30 point per game scorer before, especially a 30 point per game scorer on a bad team. Like,
I don't know how he can be overrated. I feel like the consensus is very low on him right now.
The consensus is not very low. It's two extremes. Either you think he's fucking garbage and he's like the worst player ever, which is the Shea haters, and then there's the people that like will swear up and down he's like a top 10 player in this league, which I will fight you. He's not. Like, I've been seeing the insane takes on both sides, and I like to keep a level head. I like to remain
top 20
in a lot of situations, but I mean,
maybe French top 15.
Bro, y'all see, and I don't know how we got on. I don't know how we got onto a Shea topic, but again, y'all rating him over. You know what? I'm not even gonna do it.
Who's rating him over Devin Booker, bro? Where are you seeing this?
I didn't wait. No. I didn't say that.
Doing it
I never said that. That was Joseph, I think, said that. I've never heard that.
Who are you about to say? Who are you about to say then? People,
you know who I was gonna say. I was gonna say Trae Young. Like I'm not. I don't care. I don't care, bro. I don't care.
You see,
okay.
I'm an avid Trae Young supporter.
Wait, didn't we all three have Shea over Trae on our list?
You have a lot.
Yes.
You
had Trae at 8, bro. So I have beef with you. You had Halliburton over Trae. I'm not messing with you right now. I still haven't forgot. And nah, bro, we not cool. We're not cool.
We've been talking about this every week since the point guard list. Like,
I'm not gonna let him let it. I'm not letting it go.
Don't
season,
let that die.
When Trae plays his ass off next season, I'm gonna revisit this.
Yes, he might play his ass off, but none of it's gonna be off the ball though, and it's still not gonna be efficient.
All right, that's great.
So my opinion's not going to change.
What is him? You want him to play more off the ball? Is that's what you want?
Yeah.
Because no, he's too good to take the ball out of his hands. So no.
Then why did you trade for DeJounte?
Who did we dock?
I didn't do that. I wouldn't have made that trade. But I'm not the fucking Atlanta Hawks. They doing some other shit over there, and I really don't know what. I was never sold on a DeJounte pairing, but they are. So whatever they do over there is what they do. But I'm just saying, Trae Young gonna show his ass next season. He's another player that's gonna remind y'all who he is.
Him full season and Quinn Snyder's offense.
Am I gonna push the Trae Young Clutch Player of the Year campaign? I think I'm gonna have to get on that train early.
Push that.
I might have to do that because he's a player that I could see winning that too. Yeah, I like
Definitely.
I think I did have Shea over Trae though. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Yeah,
Bro,
I think
we
you
all
and me.
did.
I'd have to confirm. I know I had Shea pretty sure I had Shea at 4 and Trae at 5. I might have had Ja above him. I'd have to check, but he's not far off.
Trae at 5 because last season was a little bit of a step back, but he's still elite.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying, bro. Like you act like down seasons don't happen. Like what's
honestly,
up with
him
that?
and Shea were kind of like I thought about it for a quick second. But I think the top 3.
I gotta give Shea credit last year. As much as you can talk about him getting to the line and relying on that, it's like his dribble penetration is still amongst the best, if not the best in the league. There's reason other guards ain't doing it like him outside of Ja, and Ja's an athletic freak.
For sure.
Still finishes well, still makes well, and the fact that he's is an uber low turnover rate guy for how much he has the ball in his hands as well is something I have to value. So he gets a lot of love from me, and it's different too now compared to where OKC were a year ago when they weren't that good compared to last year where they were a playing team and they were a good basketball team for the majority of the season. So I have to give them credit for that too.
So wait, I got a question.
Agendas, I despise foul merchant agendas with everything in me.
It's
a part of the game.
I don't even like. I don't push foul merchant agendas.
Bro,
I was just
with Shea specifically, the fact that he doesn't shoot that many threes, you know what this guy is gonna do, and you still can't stop it because he either scores or you have to foul him. That's not points against him. That's points for him because you know what he's gonna do when you still can't stop it. That's how good he is at doing it.
There's a lot of games where he would not take a 3 last season and still get 30 points.
I mean, hey, get it how you can. I had a question though. We all had KD at 2, Giannis at 1.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay. Just have to make sure. Just have to make sure. Just have to make sure nobody said nothing blasphemous.
The top 3 are damn near like in tiers. I think Giannis is just clear the top guy to position. I think KD's still like a decent step ahead of like Anthony Davis. Probably a little closer.
I'd say he's a step ahead. He ain't that far. Not that far. I got AD top 10. Yeah, I got KD out the top 5. So it's not that much. It's not that much of a difference. So
I think I have KD at like 7 in the league and like AD.
That's exactly where I have him actually.
Yeah,
it's like 4 spots.
I'm at too.
Yeah, I'm in awe of like how elite KD is at this age. And it just seems like post Achilles, this dude is just still a machine, bro. Like, obviously he's not as good as he was in like OKC, but man, he's still
even with having to adjust his game. He's not as good of a slasher that he once was. Definitely not comparing to OKC when he was damn near as good a slasher as he was a mid-range shooter.
He's really just a mid-post guy now. Like that's really what he is, and he's probably the best. He's probably the best, if not the second best mid-range player ever. I think the only guy that you can put ahead of him is Jordan. Like, that's it. In my opinion. Like,
I'm not going to lie. I wouldn't even put Kobe mid-range game above KD. Because, like,
Kobe was a very good
it's definitely close, but, like,
guy. Yeah.
KD mid-range is just different.
I mean, I think it was.
KD was built to age well, bro. Like,
I think it was last season, like 60% from the mid range. Like that's ridiculous.
Something ridiculous, just absolutely insane.
When you're a 7-footer with a jump shot like that, and it's just so smooth, you got all the moves. Like,
what is the contest when you're 7 foot?
It's like the coming back from the injuries is more impressive to me than just doing it at this age because his game was built to age well. Like you see these guys who come in super athletic of this high of a caliber, the Jordans, the Kobes, even LeBron to an extent, they like lost a little bit of the athleticism, did not slash as much, but they got better at the jumper aspect of the game, expanding their range, getting better in the post. KD already had that shooting basis to where when he lost some of his athleticism, the transition was way smoother and easier.
Bean was a great mid-range guy too, but I just think KD's. I think Jordan is the only comparable name in the mid-range.
Bar none. Kevin
Hey,
Durant.
what's up, John? What's up to my guy, John?
Yeah, what's your take
Yeah,
on that,
what
John?
up,
Let's
John?
get the Lakers fan opinion.
KD mid-range is the best I've ever seen. Yeah, I would say that pretty comfortably. I'm 21 years old, so.
And Kobe was great. Kobe's midi was great.
Phenomenal.
It's up
Absolutely
there. It's up there.
Yeah, I mean, we're
KD is a
comparing
top 5
all-time
shooter
greats
ever.
here.
KD is a top 5 shooter in the history of basketball, including the combination of 3-point and mid-range shooting. He's a top 5 shooter ever.
Kobe's
Kevin
mid-range
Durant's
won
mid-range
championships. It did. But
KD's did too.
Kevin did too. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe the Lakers fan got KD over him.
Listen, bro,
I'm surprised, but respect it.
I'm the biggest Steph Curry meat writer of all time, and KD was the best player on the team. KD was the best
I'm
player.
not rocking with that. I think Curry was still better than him.
Curry was the system. The team was built around Curry and ran through Curry, but KD was the best individual.
Kevin Durant KD was the beneficiary of having Curry, so of course he was going to look like the best player.
That was also the peak defensive Curry, though, or the peak defensive KD. His impact on defense.
That's a portion that people don't talk about. KD, his like help defense in not OKC,
specifically in Golden State.
It was like, whoa, what the fuck? Why? Where was this in OKC? That's almost how it was.
They needed Kevin just as much as he needed them. I will say that much, bro. Because it was evident they needed a wing scorer that could get buckets against anybody. Because they lacked that in 2016.
Harrison Barnes forget how to play basketball. He ain't never go there.
No, what's crazy about that is when they won the championship again, they ended up having a wing, obviously not score as much as Kevin Durant, but they ended up they got that guy with Wiggins. He was a wing guy who can get you 16 points a game. He was getting crazy boards in that finals, and his defense on Tatum was elite. Shit, he had Tatum looking shaky
also,
in the light.
By that time, Curry, obviously Curry in 2016 was fucking amazing, but as a playoff guy that could close games, he was elevated to that level. Like he was the closer in 2022.
Sure.
Back in 16, very shaky down the stretch in those finals. Like very shaky.
He had some low key disappearing acts, which is stuff that people. I feel like that's always stuff that people try to bring up just to put an asterisk on a career. But if you look hard enough, I promise you can find it with every single all-time great. Hell, you can find it with LeBron in the 2016 finals that everybody meat rising for. In that last game, what did he shoot? 9 of 24? That's not great.
He was very timid in that game. He was very timid in that game.
Kobe. And in that game, the game 7 where I think that the one where they actually won,
he was 6 for 24.
And it didn't matter.
But he grabbed 15 rebounds.
They ended up with the win. They ended up with the win. So hey, you look hard enough, you can find little holes in every all-time greats game. But hey.
Be honest, what's y'all opinion on that KD move? Listen.
My opinion still ain't changed. That shit was weak.
16-year-old me hated it. Now I don't really care. It happened.
I gotta be honest.
They needed each other.
I gotta be honest. No, KD is not over Kobe because the accolades are not the same at all. And Kobe was a way better defensive player.
Man,
we saw Kobe
new here.
For way long.
You're new here, man. Come on.
To me,
we ain't the guys that disrespect Kobe, man.
KD is top 15 all the time, and I think I'm low on Kobe, and I usually have him 6 or 7 depending on the day all the time. So
I don't think 6 or 7 is low on Kobe. I'm not gonna lie.
Some people have him 3. So I mean,
they're kind of delusional. There's no way in hell you putting Kobe at 3. But that's I'm never gonna say that to a Kobe fan because Kobe fans don't listen, and I don't really argue. There's a few people I don't argue with. I don't argue with bronsexuals. I don't argue with Kobe fans. I don't argue with old heads that don't like to analyze the new game and just pretend like it's just shit. Who else
Russ
don't I
fans?
argue with?
Russ fans? I don't argue with Russ.
I don't argue with the Harden fans that still try to act like he was ever going to be better than Dwayne Wade with no real hardware. That was also a crazy conversation when that was like being pushed. I know y'all remember that. It was them Rockets days. They was trying to push that heavy, and it
I
just
kept
like
quiet because both of those are like two of my favorite players ever. So I just kept quiet.
but that those agendas they started to happen, and like they died down because like Harden in the playoffs was just never it. And then they I guess they picked back up for whatever reason when he hit that game winner. I don't know why. We I guess we still entertaining it, but yeah, those just a few people I don't argue with.
Mo just said I don't argue basketball with anybody. Pretty
no,
that
that's
was a lot of groups of people.
okay,
bro.
but those groups were like very, very egregious, like y'all just narratives are what y'all should attach to. Y'all don't actually attach yourselves to the game. But that's just
Harden in his prime is ridiculous, bro.
I gotta
Fun
be
fact,
honest.
I didn't like Harden in his prime because he was just that style of basketball was never attractive to me. The foul baiting shit, I hated it. Like, and I still hate it.
And you don't like Shea either. You don't like Shea either.
That's fair.
But I didn't. But okay, I was never calling Shea like a foul baiter. I was doing that as a joke. I don't like Shea based on now. It's like we got new toy syndrome with Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. He the best thing since sliced bread, and like pump your brakes. He still got shit to prove in this league. Like he ain't for real like that, like y'all saying. But hey man, call me a hater. Yes.
I really still think right now, Luka and prime Harden is the same player, bro. And it's just when Harden did it, it was fucking sexual harassment, and when Luka does it, it's flirting. Like it's literally the flirting versus.
And Harden
harassment.
was better IMO than where Luka's at right now.
It's
not significantly, but slightly better.
That's an argument. That's an argument that I would actually like.
He's a much better 3-point shooter.
Much better.
Bro,
like,
better shooter. I mean, neither were like good defenders. Luka's a little bit
might have
taller.
been a
But Harden had that.
No, Harden was dead ass one of the worst defenders in the league especially when he first became
one of the
Harden
best post
in Houston.
defenders though. I'm just playing.
Hey, his post defense is actually like solid now, but like he was
that would be Rockets fans like counter like, bro, his post defense is amazing.
Hey
bro,
man,
him and Luka so similar, and it's like people slander Harden to no end, and I don't see Luka get that same energy.
Also
it's like you got to feel one way about it.
How old is Luka?
But it's the play style and the production. It's more so about, and it's not saying like, oh, he's like, it's literally just the fact that they play the same style of basketball and people criticize Harden for it, but do not criticize Luka the same way. I don't care about what games they won. I don't care about what games they lost. If you're criticizing James Harden because he lost a bunch of elimination games, whereas Luka went out in a game 7 and embarrassed a team by 40, okay, that's an argument that I'm going to let you have. On the other end, if you're like, oh, James Harden was a foul baiter, but Luka Magic, he's the best player in the NBA. It's just a double standard. It's literally just a double standard.
Double standards. Hey, they exist, and we got to deal with them. I'm not saying that's okay though, but hey, it'd be like that. Sometimes it's just like that.
Game 5, 42. Who had
KD to the Warriors was still a fire.
About Harden, I think
it was annoying at the time because there was no parity. But going back and watching highlights, it was crazy.
But yeah,
I think it was game 4.
Yeah. Harden was so weird in the playoffs. Like he turned back the clock a couple times, and then he looked like one of the worst starters in basketball for like 5 games in that series. So,
it's just Harden was. Hard, man. What? Why could you never show up it's not even just that he can never show up. It's a mixture of that and injury and like some just really, really questionable decisions in the playoffs and purely bad luck. Look who they faced off against in the Western Conference Finals multiple times, bro.
Yeah,
that's a hard out. That's a hard out, especially for you to make it a competitive series. That's a very hard out.
And it's when they had their chance, Chris Paul got hurt, and it's just like
it was tough. And then
you have to have all
threes
hands
in
on
a
deck
row.
you got to be like everybody healthy, everybody locked in to beat the KD Warriors.
Or just like not miss 27 threes in a row.
That's a
I'll
That
tell you
game
who
was
did
still
beat the
tough.
KD
Definitely helps.
Warriors. I'll tell you exactly who beat the KD Warriors.
You sound like my fucking dad, bro. Love you, Dad. You sound like my dad.
Hey man, Kawhi Leonard, the dynasty breaker. Well, I guess he didn't technically break the Warriors dynasty because it's still a dynasty, but
KD's a
broke an
dynasty
era.
breaker.
for sure.
I still give credit where it's due, though. You know,
Kawhi Leonard might be the ultimate NBA disruptor. See, that's a video idea.
he
Gotta
just
get on
comes.
that.
He just comes onto the scene when like
Bro.
Kawhi is dead ass
dynasty
determined.
needs to be broke.
He gonna do
Like
that.
y'all think people be playing? They for real. Like he's
The
determined.
reason he's not playing in the playoffs is because there's not a dynasty to be broke.
Kawhi got one in 2014. Kawhi got
Hey,
one in 2019.
give it
He's gonna
2
get one in
years.
2024.
Give it 2 years.
Every
And let the
5
Nuggets.
years,
If
bro.
the
Every
Nuggets
5
go
years.
back to back, if the Nuggets go back to back, we know who win in the next one after that. It don't even got to be said.
I wonder how
No matter
people are
what team
sitting
you're
on.
gonna be on.
I wonder how people are feeling about the Nuggets going into this.
I'll put the Kawhi jersey back on, bro. If that happens. If Kawhi plays 60, if Kawhi is eligible for all NBA teams, I'll start caping Kawhi again.
As a Boston
think I
fan, I
would.
really like that Raptors team. Even outside of Kawhi, I just like they're bearing that basketball, man. Real gritty. My type of team.
For real. It
I-
was a fun
I-
Had
game.
that Tar Heel.
That was back when I was happy. Like I ain't been happy in a long time, bro. Like
Sad
That's crazy.
Raptors.
the Nuggets going into next year. You talked about how people feel about the Nuggets. I feel like most people I'm seeing are just like, dude, they're comfortably the best team in the West. Comfortably better than everybody. They're the favorites to come out of it.
Yeah.
again.
Watch they like.
So it
not
looks
do
like-
that.
I didn't even think if everybody healthy, which never happens, but just looking on paper, it really looks like the finals is about to be Celtics Nuggets because like the Suns could make a run, the Bucks could make a run. Like there's teams on both sides. Even the Lakers look pretty
That'd be a
scary.
damn good
But-
series.
When it looks like the least amount of questions around these teams and who I'm the most confident to take it that far, it's Boston and Denver.
I'll say this though: if Boston got past Miami, I think Denver still would have beat the shit out of Boston.
No, Denver would have like beat the fuck out of that team. I'm not gonna lie.
It might have been a 5-game
Yeah.
series still. Like
I mean,
It-
Boston
yeah.
couldn't lose an elimination game for nothing, but they
bro,
probably would have gotten
Nah,
to facing.
I think Denver
Denver,
would put hands on them for real.
Denver was
and it would have been
locked in.
ugly.
Denver
They was for real locked in.
Denver
See,
was
you see how
locked
they
in for
handled
sure.
the Heat, and to be fair, I thought they was gonna go undefeated at home. I was very surprised when the Heat won that home game. I was like, yo,
Didn't it take
That's
like
crazy.
Duncan Robinson to explode in the fourth? I think Gabe Vincent hit like 3 threes in the
it was
like. It took everything.
Some
And
wow,
Murray
and
had,
it, it gave them hope. It gave them hope in the series, but
Murray
like
had, like,
I
his
knew,
first
I knew
home
this
game
shit.
in the
I knew this shit
playoffs.
was fake. I knew it was fake.
Jokic was looking
Bro.
like fucking
It's so
Thanos, bro.
fucking
He's had all this for a
frustrating.
drop of blood. All this for
It's
one
so
game.
frustrating seeing Caleb Martin, Max Strus, Gabe Vincent, Duncan. These guys look like shooting 50-60% the entire Celtics
She
series.
lights the fuck out for no reason. They was
Motherfuckers
never like
get
that
to
for
the-
real.
and they
then they
get
just
to the
fall
finals.
apart.
You can't find Strus. You can't find Martin. Like, where are these guys? Like, bro.
Bro, I knew that series was. I'ma call it fake. It wasn't fake because it happened and there's reality. But that shooting shit was so fake. Like they had the weirdest shooting stroke, and it happened at the perfect time for them.
It was some March Madness shit, bro. Like, they were bad all year
It's
long.
that Pat Riley voodoo. He got some secret dark magic he practiced and shit. That's how
He
they
just
gonna get
walk in
Dame.
there.
Watch. They
He
watch.
just throw
They
his
gonna get
rings on the
Dame.
floor.
They gonna get Dame. They're not gonna give up too much, and it's gonna be that crazy Pat Riley dark magic that somehow, you know what I'm saying, lands them in another Eastern Conference Finals.
The God.
This time with Dame.
If
If they
anyone's
get-
gonna
listen,
do
if
it,
they
it'd be
get-
Miami, man.
If they get Dame,
If they
Boston,
get Dame,
like,
they're coming out the East.
Boston has
So
a problem. Boston has
They
a
get-
problem.
if they get Dame and don't have to give up out of bio, which I'm assuming they wouldn't anyway, they're coming out the East.
The silver
just-
lining, the
that's-
biggest silver lining is the fact that when these
That's what they're
teams,
missing, to be honest.
when teams make midseason trades, we know it happened with KD last year. When teams make midseason trades, that usually doesn't
Takes
turn into
time.
a year one title. Almost never.
Except
Hey.
Boston's got a
Gasol.
problem.
Marcus Gasol to the Raptors.
Yeah.
That's the only time.
That was a great
Hey.
in-season trade.
He's staying. He's staying for the rest of the episode.
And hold on,
Yeah,
PJ
I
Tucker to
might
the Bucks,
have
too.
to get Benny. I might have to get Benny the Bull. I know he can't cost too much.
PJ
Look at
Tucker to
him.
the Bucks too was another one. But other than that, like, yeah.
This
Happy
rate, I'm just
rap.
expecting Gabe to walk in as a Raptor at some point. It's gonna be his final evolution.
Bro,
Man.
listen. I'm doing everything I can to meet the agendas. All right, I'm doing everything
Pascal
I
to
can
Portland,
to meet the
David goes to Miami.
allegations. Pascal's going to Atlanta.
I hope so.
DeJounte, we'll take you.
Look,
That'd be
no,
a
DeJounte
great
Murray.
move for the Hawks. I would like.
Nah,
that.
wait.
DeJounte
Listen,
Murray.
I've been waiting 2 hours to say this to Devin. What you think about World Cup MVP being the point guard of the Raptors, bro? Is the Raptors point guard position any better?
Hey, the world champion Dennis Schroeder, by the way.
Hey,
World
World
champion Dennis
champion.
Schroeder, indeed.
World
Here's what I'll say.
MVP.
Here's what I'll say. I'm more positive than I was 2 months ago when I was berating that signing on TikTok. I'll say that much. What I will say is he's still a bad NBA starting point guard, and we're still ass.
There was
End
a
of
hate
story.
comment on that TikTok 4 days ago.
Hey, but
man,
look, like,
just know whenever you're speaking on Dennis Schroeder name, you gotta put some respect on it.
MVP.
Gold medalist, FIBA World Cup MVP. Can
Hey,
your favorite player say that? Because mine can't.
That's my favorite team starting point guard.
Tatum, Harden.
Hopefully we start him. We would be stupid enough to bring him off the bench.
I mean, he's got to start at this point, right?
I mean, I'd
Hey,
hope
man.
so, but like, hey, if
Fine.
we just
Point
commit to
Scotty.
Scotty a point, like, bro, I might just rip my eyes out some nights. Like,
Isn't that how this whole Giannis shit started?
I don't
bro?
hate Scotty at
Just
point
running that
if
point guard if
Everybody
he
else
became
is gone. Pascal gone. OG gone.
yeah, I don't mind it then, but like, if we're still trying to fake compete and we have Scotty a point with no shooters other than Gary on the court, like, bro,
I like it better, bro.
gotta figure it out.
According to Noah Lyles, Dennis Schroeder is the best player in the world. But
Technically, man.
I was really
So
having a
that's
lot
so
more.
nasty. Oh my
I was
goodness.
having some more fun when we were.
Even though he had a 4 for 26 game, but we're gonna look past that. They won.
Listen, hey,
he bounced back. He bounced back.
there's only
Yeah,
one
yeah.
stat that matters to me, and it's a W or an L.
The trophy,
You
man.
got
The trophy.
W.
That's it.
Hey, he played
I was
winning
having a lot more
basketball, as
fun.
John would say.
The 2019 Raptors, that was positive conversation, bro. You don't got to remind me of the 2024 Raptors, all right?
You brought it up.
Now I brought up Dennis Schroeder. I needed Devin to
He's a
respond.
part of the 2024 Raptors.
Bro, come on, just stop.
Speaking of, man, we forgot to mention Delano Banton is also a Celtic, man. Shout out to him.
A very
He's
solid
probably
backup
Oh,
guard.
man.
He's a very solid backup guard.
He's gonna be
Y'all
like
should
the
give him a
fourth
chance.
guard on the roster.
Y'all should give him a chance, bro.
He'll probably play when like Derek White and Brogdon are out. He'll probably get some run.
Garbage time goat.
Garbage time go indeed. But that being said, I know it is getting late and we have things we need to attend to in the early morning.
Late.
But before we do wrap it up, again, Mo, we appreciate you for coming on this week and giving your thoughts on the Bulls. Before we do
Appreciate y'all
wrap
for
things
having
up,
me, man.
is there any last final take you want to make as we head in to this NBA season?
Celtics 2024 NBA champions. You said it. I heard it. I can't speak. You heard it here first. I said it. I don't got the script. It's just off the dome. Because, yeah.
No Patrick
That's all I
Williams
got
must
to say.
improve? No Patrick Williams must improve, bro?
No, Patrick Williams most improved. No, Patrick Williams all defense. That's what we want. That's what we want.
okay.
We want the all
Even
defense.
better. I like that more.
For sure. But yeah, Celtics 2024 NBA champions and Patrick Williams all defensive campaign loading. Both of them loading up soon. That JT Finals MVP gonna hit me right here in the veins. Inject that. Need that. Because I'm gonna push that. I'm gonna push that top 3 narrative so crazy when it happens. It's gonna be so crazy, and you're gonna be here for it.
Sure are, and that's indeed hearing it here on 3 Point Weekly from Mo. Again, his link to his YouTube channel are down in the description below, so be sure to check that out. We appreciate you again for being on. If you did enjoy throughout and you still haven't hit that like button or you still haven't subscribed, be sure to do so before we end it for the week. But we will be back next week. Moving on from our top 10 list, but we will sure to have more predictions and thoughts throughout the next few weeks of the offseason before we do get to the NBA season a bit over a month away from us. But until then, we hope you guys have a good rest of your week, and we will see you guys in the next one. Peace.